quickly as possible, and let's get into it, okay?
All right, let's do it.
So let's start here. Tell us, because I want to start for context. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Stamford, Connecticut.
Okay, in Stamford, Connecticut. Tell us about how you grew up. What kind of experience was it? Like, I know Stamford is Papa's Pizza and some of the clubs and stuff like that. That's how I know it. How do you know Stamford?
Stanford is, first off, a very, very, very diverse community. I mean, there's just every type of person lives in Stanford, and every type of, in terms of wealth, you can get extremely wealthy people that live in North Stanford, and you can get extremely poor people. It's like everywhere, you got the projects, the hood. I mean, it's just a regular community. So, I mean, that's the best way to describe Stanford. It's just a very mixed community.
What were your memories growing up? What are some of your fondest memories growing up? Just give us an idea of how you grew up, some of the experiences you went through, things that happened.
So I would say I had a very split childhood, because when I first grew up, like my first 9 years of my life, I grew up on the bad side of town, and me and my sisters shared an apartment, shared a bedroom in a tiny little apartment that was roach infested. The towers, you might know them because they're pulling them down now, but there used to be the round towers right when you get off the highway. So we lived in one of those. And then when I was in third grade or fourth grade, my grandparents came over and were just like, this is not how we want our grandchildren to grow up. So they moved all of us, we were a family of 6, into their more middle class house, which was in an area called Belltown. And so, I mean, their place was too small, but we all fit in there anyways. Me and my little sister shared the attic. My parents lived in the basement. But it was different, very different, even in terms of living in their household. There was just a lot more rules. My grandfather is deeply religious, as was my grandmother before she passed in 2013. So I kind of saw, in a way, two different lifestyles in the same town. But I would say my fondest memories growing up would be growing up with my grandparents and my granddad, who's from the South, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Just make us a big Southern breakfast in the morning. Grits, pancakes, eggs, bacon, sausage, study the Bible, me and my 3 siblings. And it was the highlight of every single day, so that was probably the best childhood memory that I have.
So you did live in the hood, but did you really remember living in the hood? Was it like, do you have any real memories of living in the towers and stuff? Do you have any of that? Or was it just like, you don't remember?
Of course. I mean, yeah, it's a weird question that people ask that. Of course, I remember my childhood. I mean, that's where I started my life, you know what I mean? And it wasn't just like this was the only piece of me being exposed to the hood. I mean, my whole family, your cousins, when you go see your cousins over in the Bronx and White Plains, wherever, I mean, this is my family, so my family didn't have any money. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. And so I don't think you can, I mean, it's rare that you would have any Black American that would say that they have, they've just grown up in wealth. And even when we were living in the middle of town, like we weren't a rich family. It was my grandfather, who had worked really hard his whole life. He started his life on a sharecropping farm, and him and my grandmother bought that house, and that was their dream, and that was middle class. So, I mean, asking if I have any memories, I have tons of memories.
Okay. The reason I ask that is because some of these questions I want to ask for context, because looking back on that, this is just me as a casual observer. I said to myself, well, maybe she never had any interaction with the hood. Maybe she never was from the streets. Maybe she never saw that. And that's just me looking at it as a casual observer. But it's really interesting that you did. You were in the streets. You have, like you said, you have family from White Plains. You have family from New York. Were any of the ideas or stances that you have today taught in your household when you were living with your grandmother and grandfather?
Yes and no. So I would say my household was apolitical. So there was no talk about politics. I mean, my father says he did. My father says he's voted, but I don't think my mother has ever voted. It just was not happening in our household. There was no conversation about left or right. I mean, just like normal Black American, I grew up thinking I have to be a Democrat, I have to be a liberal, Republicans are racist, conservatives, but I didn't learn that even in my household. I learned that really in school, sort of in this like history revisionist thing. And I would say in terms of conservatism, though, definitely my grandparents were conservative. They wouldn't have called it conservatism. They were just, everything was by the book. It was like family, faith, hard work, no excuses. Like they just did not play around with any of that stuff. Their rules had rules, and I say that in a positive way because it was all love. You know, they just believed in women presenting themselves respectfully. My brother, when he was growing up, he had to be outside doing yard work. I swear my grandfather mowed the lawn every single day. He was pulling weeds. You know, he just lived out there. And he raised, you know, believed in men being men. They believed in real gender roles. You know what I mean? Granddad would make the breakfast, but grandma would make dinner. And it was just a wonderful way to grow up, you know, with rules. And, but, you know, nowadays rules are thought as something negative and bad. But, you know, I loved the way I grew up with my grandparents. It was wonderful.
You know, because, and that's again, that's interesting because I believe in that. I believe in the man does this and the woman does this, and
Yeah.
you know, so I'm with you on that. You were a teen and you got harassed by kids. What happened?
Yeah.
For me personally, and I would like to preface this by saying, the exact situation that what you went through, I went through with my daughter Tiana in New Jersey. We actually found the kids. They did it on the internet. They were, you know, bullying her, harassing her, you know, putting pictures of caskets and guns. We gonna kill your daughter, whatever. And we went and found them. And it got settled with the police or whatever, but we found the kids. What was the story with you? What happened? What took place?
Yeah, it was crazy, you know, before we even get into the story, watching people try to take the story as if it's something that I tried to hide or bury when I gave a TED talk on it. I mean, the internet is just fucking stupid half the time. You know, I'm just like, she doesn't want you to know this. I did a TED talk on that before I even got into politics. So like, you can look up Candace Owens TEDx talk, and I explained everything that happened. And it was such a big part of why I am the way I am, actually. And I mean, so it's a very long story, but I'm going to try to compress it just down to what you need to know, which is basically I had a friend, and he and I were best friends, like literally best friends. He was not into me at all sexually. It was not like that. He's now openly gay.
Good for him.
But
Good.
yeah, yeah. So, but at the time that he and I like became friends, I got my first boyfriend, and I was like goodbye to my friends, all of them. It was like all of my boyfriend, you know, typical high school girl stuff, and just ditched all of my friends. And fast forward maybe a couple of months into my relationship, I'm spending every single second with my boyfriend. I one night got a phone call, four actually missed phone calls, and they were just the most horrific messages that you could possibly get. And it was four males that were yelling back and forth about how they wanted to kill me, how they wanted to put a bullet in the back of my head like Martin Luther King, you know, calling me the N-word, Rosa Parks. I mean, every racist reference you could possibly make was said on these phone calls. It was really bad. It was horrible to go through. Like I cried that whole night that it happened because I was actually shocked because I couldn't think of four people that would do that to me. I was like, I don't have four dudes that hate me. And I didn't even think this kid would do it either. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, he was known to hang around all black people. So it was just like, the whole thing was just weird. And I didn't recognize any of the voices. Long story short, I did not go to the police about it. Actually, I told my teacher the next day, and my teacher spazzed out and was like, we're going to the principal's office right now. And the principal called the police. So it was like something that was taken completely out of my control. And by some weird, you know, luck, a stroke of my own misfortune, one of the people that was on the phone call, three of them I had never known. They were literally just kids that were drunk, high, whatever it was. And my former friend was like, let's call her and leave a message. They were all messed up, you know, because he was so angry at me for not hanging out with him anymore, whatever it was. But one of those kids I didn't know happened to be the Democrat governor of Connecticut's son. I had never met him, never laid eyes on him, but it went from something that happened to a news story that was all throughout the tri-state because it's politics, right? And so that actually, what the situation and what I went through was actually formed a lot of my later opinions down the line about a lot of this stuff. Like people say, why did you support the NAACP? Because I know the NAACP, you know, are emotional extortionists. You know, they were waiting outside of my school because they wanted to speak out and say, oh, these kids aren't getting arrested because of this political connection. And they weren't wrong. It took an extraordinarily long time for the kids to get arrested and the police were just saying they had to dot their I's and cross their T's because they were dealing with a politician's son. So I'm not like knocking the police here either. But the point is that they never even spoke to me. The NAACP wasn't like, how are you? They showed up, cameras left. never called me a day after. It was out of the cameras, not before. So I'm not the only person in the world they've done that to. You know what I'm saying? Like, they like situations where race is involved because they fundraise off those situations, and they use people like political pawns. Now, I was a young girl. I was, not even, I must have been 17 years old when all this happened. So then there's the people online that say, oh, she sued her, what do they say? She sued her school for racism. It's BS, because there was so much stuff going on at school in these 6 weeks that the FBI needed to investigate, because the rumors were that I phone called myself. That was what they were trying to put out. Like, oh, we didn't do it. She must have called herself, like, and just made up these messages. So I had 6 weeks of a divided high school. My sisters were getting into fistfights. My boyfriend was getting into fistfights. So my parents made the decision to pull me out of school and to homeschool me until the investigation was over. And my father sued to be refunded for what having your daughter sent out of school and sitting on her ass because she's being harassed in school and you guys are acting like you don't know these kids called her. So, I mean, it was a decision that my father made. I was upset when he did it because I never even wanted the situation to be public. You know what I mean? And it sort of felt like my whole world was rocked and everything became public and everybody was debating me. And it was horrible. I mean, I was an insecure 17-year-old girl. I'm not, not the girl I am today. And it was adults, groups like the NAACP, news stations, everybody forgetting that at the core of the story was a person, you know what I mean? An actual individual and a girl that's trying to grow up. And every girl at 17 years old is insecure. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to figure out what lunch table to sit at, whether your boobs are ever going to come in. Mine never did. You know what I mean? Like, so there's so much going on and then to have the entire state debating you and actually believing that you called yourself on some Jussie Smollett, for 6 weeks. That felt like 6 years until it was over and all the kids got arrested and things sort of resumed. But they didn't really resume for me because that actually transpired because I felt like everything was taken out of my control into a 4-year eating disorder that I had, because of the situation. So it was a very traumatizing situation to go through as a 17-year-old where, I always say I wouldn't wish on my first enemy. But a lot of my positions, like when I say something against NAACP, I'm not saying that to be anti-Black. I'm saying that because I know exactly what they do because I've lived through it, So that.
Two questions. Number one, well, three. Number one, were you dating a white guy or were you dating within your race? Number two is, did you wind up fighting anybody, or was it just your sisters?
No,
and your
I never fought anyone.
Kicking ass?
I never fought anyone in that situation. At that time, I was dating a white guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my secondary question is, have you ever dated anybody Black, or you
yes.
never dated?
And that's the craziest thing because I'm still friends with all of them, and so they're reading this stuff like, "Oh, you don't date Black guys?" Yes. I've dated 4 Black dudes, but just so just so we can get the record super clear, I started my life out on a strong Asian kick. So okay. My first boyfriend was Japanese. My second boyfriend was Korean. My next boyfriend was Black, and then he cheated on me. And then I had, we're great friends. We're great friends. He's like family to me. But it was messed up how he did it, how I found out about it at a basketball game. Like, I'm cheering for him with his mom, and I found out because some girl wanted to beat me up. And I was looking at the bleachers, and I saw this Black girl get up, and she's like, doing all this. So I'm like, oh, it's about to be a fight. So I'm like looking back at her.
You going to
I was about to get beat
up. Right.
Whole other girlfriend. But then I dated another Black guy. A third Black guy. I dated every race. I dated a Jewish guy. I have never, like, my parents, the way they raised us, I've just never been a person that is it. The only race that I'm not into, and I know this sounds bad, but I'm saying I'm just not attracted to, is I've never been attracted to Hispanic men.
No, listen, well, you can't try it out now because you're married, so you can't try it out. It's a wrap for you. It's done. My question about the NAACP, you're telling me that no one ever came, because the way that it was positioned in the news was like they were lockstep with you, hand in hand, and they kind of brought this verdict and this payment in for you. That is not the case?
No, they had nothing to even do with the lawsuit at all. So that's what's crazy. They had nothing to do with the lawsuit at all. All they had to do was the press. Right. So they were there, press, giving wanted to give a statement literally outside. When I would be walking outside of school, they'd be waiting outside of the front steps with the press in tow So they never spoke to me. There's not a single person who can say they ever had a conversation with me except for a photo op outside, to look like they were talking to me when I was walking outside of my school. So, I mean, anybody trying to tell me that I have to think the NAACP is a good organization, it's just no, negative. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely not. They're extortionists.
Is that the thing that kind of started you moving to the right? Because at one point you were a card-carrying Democrat. No. On the left, you had the degree.
No, I was never a Democrat. I was never a Democrat. Never a Democrat. This is all rumors. The internet knows absolutely nothing.
Tell me.
I was never a Democrat. I was apolitical, but I felt if you had asked me on the street, like doing a poll, what party do you support, I would have said Democrats. And I thought I was a liberal. I believed in the narrative, the narrative, Republicans, conservatives are racist, and everywhere that Black Americans are helped, it's because of the Democrat Party, we owe them so much. So I bought into all of that, not just in high school, all through college as well, beyond college. So I was solidly considered myself to be a liberal. What that situation did was it gave me clear eyes about the press and what the press is after and how they will spin something, sell stories, and it gave me clear eyes about the NAACP, but it didn't transform my opinion about, it wasn't political for me, you know what I mean? Like, I still thought Democrats were the good guys. So that whole rumor about me being a Democrat, I've never been a registered Democrat in my life, ever. Okay, so I had never voted because I was apolitical.
I'm gonna switch and change my line of questioning. Not my line of questioning, but I'm gonna ask you if it was true or not, and then you can just tell me the truth or dispel the rumor. What was the event or sequence of events that started you on the path to leaning conservative?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, it just took me actually studying politics and learning about what the positions actually were versus the caricature of what the positions were versus the, like, what we all think, versus I had to stop thinking and start knowing, right? And obviously, when I started getting very interested in politics was when Trump came down the escalator. And at that moment, I was hoping Bernie was going to win. So I was on the Bernie Sanders train, and Trump came down, and I was like, no, this guy should never be president. Like, that would, he's a TV show. I mean, just all of the stuff that we all said when he came down the escalator. And it's fine. He knows this was my position. We're cool now. But my perspective was just like, it would be a joke if a reality TV star became president. That was really what I was so against. But then the weird stuff started happening where, as opposed to just saying he's not qualified, the media just, he's a racist, he's a sexist, he's a misogynist, he's incestuous, he's a rapist. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. First off, I grew up listening to hip hop. Everybody liked Trump. Trump was at the parties. Trump was hanging out with Diddy. He was in music. Beyonce and Jay-Z wanted to be sipping poolside at Mar-a-Lago. So you have to take me for an absolute fool if you're going to tell me that you just found out today when he announced he was running for president that this man was literally Hitler and wants to send Black people back on slaves. So first off, I'm just not that stupid. I'm not that emotionally, I'm just not emotional silly party like that. Fine, if you want to if the media had stuck with the line of like, he is not qualified, they would have had me. They went way too far, too fast. I mean, at one point they were saying this dude was incestuous and wanted to date his daughter, Ivanka. I mean, they just would not let up. And so, I got conservative curious, as I call it, and started being like, okay, well, all those people that I used to call Uncle Toms and Coons, have I ever actually listened to what they said? Have I ever actually sat through and watched an interview what they said? Or do I only read headlines about what they've said? And it's obviously the irony here is that now this is what's done to me. So all those years of me calling all those people Uncle Toms and Coons, I get to have it back like, times 3,000. But so I picked up a book. And the first person I started reading, and if you are a Black person and you are watching this right now, I beg you, if there is just one book, turn off the TV, that you should read that will transform your life and you will never, ever, ever be able to unsee it. It is Thomas Sowell, Intellectuals and Race. Sowell is spelled Sowell. He's a Harvard economist. He's in that group with like Condoleezza Rice and Walter Williams. And I mean, just Shelby Steele, really just the brightest Black Americans that are breathing, and they are rejected from their community. And I read that book, Race and Intellectuals, and I just went, oh my God, my entire life has been a lie. Like, I finished that book and I was like, and I couldn't get enough. And I then went after Larry Elder, and he is just like, you can't watch Larry Elderman. He just smacks you with facts all day. And he talks about how he has challenged Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton to debate his entire life and they won't do it. And I'm thinking, I wouldn't debate you either. He's just way too smart. This man's like, he's got like a photographic memory. And it just, I just felt like the wool was lifted off my eyes. And when that happened to me, I was sort of like, at first I was amazed, but I actually felt like I was going crazy because I believed this narrative my whole entire life, right? And so it'd be like, wake up one day and somebody's like, hey, Scoop, up is down and down is up. Actually, I know your whole life you thought, no, it's all different now. It rocked my world. And I felt like I was going crazy. And I really went through this period of cognitive dissonance where I was like, am I losing my mind? Like, am I having an awakening? Like, it was crazy. And, I just spent so much time reading. I read so many books and I sat there and I wondered, did I ever learn anything? Did I learn anything, or did the school system just want to emotionally manipulate me to believe a certain narrative? And then after feeling like I was going crazy, it morphed into an anger, like a fire in my belly where I was like, no, I have to go. I have to just do it better than anybody else has ever done it. I have to be out there saying this until Black America gets it, because we're all being robbed of our lives. And we've been in this rut forever. We're convinced it's because of racism, and it's all right here. It's all, when I say right here, I'm saying I'm holding this in this book, holding it in this book. I feel like, I'm just like holding the Holy Grail, and we've been duped and lied to, and we've been, taught to buy into this victim culture. So
Okay.
that was kind of when I said I got to start making videos.
So here's my question. When you found out all of this stuff, where Trump was being called misogynistic and incestuous and all of that, was that during his campaign, or was it when he became president? Because
during his campaign.
During the campaign. Okay.
During his campaign. And then it was like, I remember, because he came on the escalator like beginning of 2015 or whatever. And then by August, when I actually went to see what he was saying and the way the media was twisting it, it was that speech that he gave in Dimondale, Michigan. And I watched it. I watched the words come out of his mouth where he gave all the statistics of the 1,000 ways that Black Americans are losing right now. He talked about our rates of poverty, our rates of crime of blood. And he said, Black America, what do you have to lose? And I was like, yes. He said, ask, like, what do we have to lose? We are losing. Look at these statistics. We're losing. So we might as well throw it up in the air and take a chance and see if it gets better with this dude, because it's not getting, we just had a Black president for 8 years. And then I watched that speech live, and then the media, just like that, turned it into something he never said. He never said it. You know what I mean? They do it all the time. Even that like infamous quote where they say that he said there were good people on both sides. Go watch the actual speech. It is wild that rumor is still out there, when this dude literally said there were good people that showed up that day on both sides to talk about the statue. And he specifically says that I'm not talking about the white supremacists or the Nazis or any of those people. He was talking about the people that did not want to see the statue come down. And the media said that he turned into, he defended white supremacists and Nazis. So they were doing this to him over and over again. So I was like, I just instantly stopped trusting the media. And the fake news thing became real. I'm just like, I've seen it with my own eyes. I saw what he said. They changed it. And now I'm in a unique position because the media lies on me all the time. They'll say, I never said it. People will be like, listen to this. I'm like, find the clip. Find the clip. They can't find it. Like, one of the most infamous Candace Owens quotes I've never said is, racism doesn't exist. That quote does not exist. I never said it. The root made that quote up. So and the way they do it is they'll put in parentheses what I actually said and then add something to it. Like, that's their sentence, and people just buy into it.
What did you say? Because, I wrote down a list of what I called your quote-unquote greatest hits that people would be incensed about or were controversial, and that was
like if you were doing a mixtape.
Yeah, exactly. Like I got a playlist of all the stuff that I want to go to. So what did you say? What was it that you said that they took out of context?
It is such a good speech, and everyone should go watch it. I said it at CPAC, not this year, 2019, right? The words racism never exists never came out of my mouth. I said, I have never been a slave in this country, right? And Root took that quote, what I actually said, Candace Owens says, in quotations, she has never been a slave, end quote, therefore racism doesn't exist. That was just some writer added that. I said, I've never been a slave in this country. And I said, I'm not going to start being one today.
Okay, so my question is to you. do you believe racism exists in this country?
I know racism exists. And not only do I say racism exists, I remind people that it's undefeatable. It's never going to go away, right? So if the second you get yourself on the program that we're going to get rid of racism, you're foolish. You are the easiest person to be hooked. That's a scam. I mean, you are selling salt to a slug. Nobody can get rid of racism. You want to know why? Because at the root of racism is hate and ignorance, and hate and ignorance is a condition of humanity. Okay, so there are black people that hate white people. There are white people that hate black people. Mm-hmm. There are random people I know that hate Chinese people. But I just can't stand. I can't stand Haitians. I can't stand it. We have that. That's never going away, right? So the question you have to ask yourself, and this is what I do not believe, is whether it is systemic. Whether there is a system in place like there was in the 60s, right, where now the system has arrived at the fact that blacks are not allowed to do this. I do not buy into the idea that America is a systemically racist country, and I do not believe that there are so many racists everywhere. No, I think that when people are emotional, it's very easy to manipulate them, and we are the most emotional group in America, which is why we are the most manipulated group in America, because we act first and ask questions later.
Okay, so you feel, let me move on up because there's so many questions I have. Matter of fact, we'll go back to the systemic racism because I kind of want to go in a line. I personally believe that the racism is systemic from a bunch of different angles. From, you know what, I believe there's racism, like you said, covert and overt. There's systemic racism in the way that you're treated when you go to a job interview. I'll give you a good example. When I was young, all my friends we used to go to interviews for, you know, working at the electronics place. Nobody beats the whiz or whatever the case. And I would go to all these interviews and I was like 15-0. Everybody would call me back. But some of my friends, like, you know, if their name was Tayshawn or you know, Raheem or whatever, they wouldn't get called back. But Isaac Freeman III would get called back. And when I would go there, people would have a shocked look on their face because they thought I was Jewish. But here I am, a fat black young kid with the name Isaac Freeman III shows up. So I believe whether you think it's like really, really, really overt or covert, systemic racism is there. And I'll give you a couple of other instances when we get to that point.
But that's not systemic. That's not systemic. That is not a system that is racist. That's not systemic.
Listen, would you say, when I think of systemic racism, I think that it's kind of what I call baked in, like, you know. But
it's not baked in. See, that you're talking about one or two people who run a company. A systemic racism has to mean the government is sanctioning this and saying this is how you have to react to that. People discriminate. Is there discrimination? Of course, discrimination. You discriminate when you date.
Okay,
you discriminate when you date. I discriminate. I mean,
right. So you don't
people on Tinder be like, I don't even like his name. Swipe.
All right.
It's the same thing. It's not systemic oppression in the dating app.
Discrimination.
Yes, but discrimination is natural. Discrimination is natural. We all discriminate. It is natural. Like I just said, you discriminate when you're saying about you can see a name and then you're like, no, right? People do that on Tinder, right? People say, I'm not dating Suze. I can't say his name. Swipe, not doing that, right? Like that, you discriminate. And that's another thing. It's like, oh, if you don't like fat girls, right? There's something wrong with you. You form bigotry. The system is racist. Maybe he just don't like fat girls. You know what I mean?
I love fat girls. I love plus size women. That's my whole shit.
If you don't, if you don't want to date, there are dudes they don't want to date skinny white girls. Don't have a butt. You know what I mean? That is, you have a, we all have our own, discriminations baked into us. Yes, individuals. Do we have things that we like and don't like and prefer? Maybe the reason the person doesn't want somebody who's got a wild name, I don't know, like some, wild African name, is because they're in customer service and it makes it difficult. You don't know what that, it's not because this person doesn't like black people. It's just, your name's a bit tricky. It doesn't work for this industry. But you know what? If you go down the block and work here, it works. I mean, it's not all about the color of your skin. It's people discriminate, trying to get certain results. And we all do it. So I hate the idea that we all pretend that I discriminate the whole time. I just told you earlier that I never was into Latino men. That was my baked in. They didn't do anything to me. Hey, I thought they were cute. I didn't like them. It wasn't my type.
I'll agree with you with that. I mean, I discriminate in a completely different way. When I see a chipmunk, it's no problem. That bushy tail, I'm like that. I'm fine with that. But when I see a rat, I want to throw a bottle at the rat. Now the rat is the same. It's the same family. It just has a
no, it's not.
funny tail.
I agree with you.
Like it. I don't like it.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I would shoot a rat.
I'm with you 100%. So now you hit the internet. You're tearing it up with your views and opinions. Who was the first one from your family to call you and say, I disagree with your opinions?
Oh my God, it was wild because first of all, it came out of nowhere for them. So you have to imagine like a family, quietly Democrat, not into politics, and all of a sudden like you're going on Facebook and people are like, F this girl, F this girl. But you know, I would say the first person was a cousin of mine. Actually, it was really hard to go through because I was very close to this cousin. And she was just like, I dissociate myself from all coons. And like we were like you know what I mean? Like it was like we were very, very tight. And it hurt. It definitely hurt, you know? So that would have been the first relative that, you know, boldly declared something like that. But you know, it is what it is. You know what I would say to them, which is funny, is that same cousin is a lesbian. And right, I want you to be who you are. I gotta be who I am. You know what I'm saying? So if you gotta say goodbye, it'll be like me posting like I disown myself from all lesbian and gay. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do, but I can't compromise being who I am and what I know. You know, to make you happy. I gotta wake up every day and be okay with Candace, and you gotta wake up every day and be okay with you. So it is.
Okay. So what did your mother and father? What did your grandmother and grandfather say? What was their point of view? Where did they stand with it?
Well, my grandmother is dead, but she's totally on my side, up in heaven. And my grandfather is like, I mean, he and me are twins, essentially. I mean, I love that man so much. I mean, we are the exact same person. I dedicated my upcoming book to my grandfather because I just have his spirit, you know, his like, no nonsense, no bullshit, hard work, don't care what anybody else says, a little bit stubbornness. So he's just proud of me. He said to me, he retired back to Fayetteville, North Carolina. And he actually purchased the sharecropping farm that he used to work on when he was a little boy.
Wow.
And yeah, his story, that's the American dream, right? Like he grew up in real segregation, the real KKK, you know, spraying bullets in his home. And he said to me the other day, he said he walked into a flower shop and he was buying flowers and they had his last name. And then somebody brought me up. And he said, oh, that's my granddaughter. And he said, I've never been hugged and kissed by so many white women in my life. The whole flower shop came and just said, you know, thank you for what she's trying to do, like to fix race issues. You know, the point is that my grandfather is, you know, extremely proud of me. My cousins, my dad, my sisters, my whole family, we are in a massive group chat. And trust me, I hear it from them. Trust, you know what I mean?
But have any of them hopped out on social media and said, you know, I'm not with you. I'm not this.
No, my sisters actually got off of social media because it was just like, you know, every time you log on, someone's saying something about your sister. It's just not. It is what it is. Like I'm very, very close with my cousins too, Nate and Randall, and they're like brothers to me because you know cousins in the Black community. Like you grow up like brothers and sisters, and they're like, you know, it is what it is. Like that's my cousin. You know, it's something, and they'll tell me they disagree. Like, okay, you could have done this. You could. My dad, for example, with the George Floyd video, he was like, I don't disagree with what you said, but I disagree with your timing. You know, like you could have waited, blah blah blah. So like they are always, you know, saying stuff to me, but they do it in our private family chat, and we'll bicker. And then my cousins will come in and be like, oh, I had police officers when I got pulled over. You know, they let me hear it. You know, but we're family, and it's good because that's how it should be. You should be able to have a conversation. People, we demonize each other so much, and we don't even allow conversation in the Black community. Like this is not even supposed to happen right now. You know what I'm saying? Like I can hear you disagreeing. It's okay to disagree, but to say you can't even have a thought like that because you're Black, that's crazy.
Well, my question was going to be, I have a couple of questions. I do, and that was going to be later on in the interview. I do agree that, because what I gather from you right now, talking to you on this chat, is that you're very intelligent, you're very mild-mannered and good. Like I can't be angry. I'm not saying I wanted to hate you coming in because we had conversation. I don't want to hate anybody, but I know there's people that want to hate you, and I think that just from hearing you talk like this, they can't hate you. But my question and my thing that I was going to ask you was, do you think that you it's bad timing. You know, when you say some of these things, you know, George Floyd's body wasn't even cold. Do you feel that? Some of the things that when you say them, it's bad timing. It's insensitive. Do you think that you could work on some of those things, because maybe the message is getting lost in the lack of sensitivity and timing? Now, could you agree with that?
So, like I said, my dad, that was his thing about the George Floyd thing. He's like, I agree with everything you're saying, but I think your timing is wrong. You know, it's insensitive, like with the death having just happened. And my point is my timing was right, because I knew this death was going to transform into more Black men dying and shit being burned down in our neighborhoods and Black people being set back another 60 years. Right. So there is no right timing when we're being lied to, and there's a deceptive narrative out. The right timing is now. I saw the way people were going to react and were lying and putting all this stuff out. And I said, you know what? I'm going to interject with a whole different narrative here, because I already know where this is going. I've just been speaking about this for 3 years. I've been warning the Black community for 3 years in every speech that every election cycle, they will focus on one death, okay? Get Black America to act crazy, okay? And then go out and trash their own jobs. I mean, who do you think works at the Target, you know, in the hood? Who do you think, whose neighborhoods? You saw those people crying. My company, we raised $100,000 to give the Black business owners. You know what I mean?
You raised what?
This is the game.
Hold on, stop 1 second, because I need to hear that. What did you just say?
Like Blexit, my company, my minority-owned company, we raised $100,000 to and gifted it to Black businesses that were burned down. You know what I'm saying? The thing is people don't realize how I move. I don't move like, while people are busy out here trying to turn George Floyd into a, you know, MLK the third. You're right. I'm actually trying to uplift the Black people that were doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying? The people that had businesses. I mean, these people, we called them to give the money, and we did not go on news talk about it. We didn't want any press about it. We didn't, you know, it wasn't even about that. Crying, like saying, this is all I have in my life. You know, me and my wife, we pulled together our resources. There are Black people that are doing the right thing every day, right? And they're not going to be buried in gold caskets, right? They're not going to, nobody gives a damn that their businesses and everything that they worked for were burned to the ground, right? Because that's it. The media gets us upset, we react, and we pay for the reaction.
Okay,
it's
so
always, it's cyclical.
I want to say 2 things. Number one, I am in complete lockstep with you when you say that we should not burn our own communities, because that's where we buy our products and that's where we get our services. If you burn that down and you don't have the proper transportation to go somewhere else and get your products and services, you are out of the mix. Also, when you hop into somebody else's community and they don't know you, we now are back to that racism and that, like, you know, Karen calls on you kind of culture. Let me just say what I gotta say, that a lot of us experience. But here's what I do say, that I do disagree with you, because I'm gonna say something to you. I looked at your Instagram, I looked at your Twitter, I researched you. There are things that you say that are absolutely brilliant, but then there are things that I don't agree with. I personally believe, you know, because you just said they're trying to make him Martin Luther King III. People are not trying to make George Floyd Martin Luther King III. You know, people feel like you feel, and I'm just telling you, and you can reply to me, that you and other people think that, you know, he is a martyr for us. And the thing is that I want you to understand that Black people, you know, we didn't make him a martyr. Derek Chauvin made him a martyr. Derek Chauvin made him the face of an entire movement. We didn't do that. Let's just say, here's the thing, because I saw your tweet, and we're going so far all over the place that I'll just talk about stuff when it comes up. You said that that he was on fentanyl, and, you know, he was, whatever happened, his record, and 9 checks. Okay, that may be the case, but none of that had to do with anything that took place on that day. Number 2, if he hold on, let me just get it, because I'm going to let you respond, because we have a good back and forth here. Had he been high on fentanyl, all they had to do was put his arms behind his back, throw his punk ass in the back of the car. Listen, I understand y'all might have pulled him out and his head hit the his head hit the ceiling or whatever, fine. You throw him in there, you process him, and he'd be coming off of his fentanyl high today. So my thing is, what he did in the past, whether he was an armed robber or he put a gun to somebody's stomach, it didn't have to do with the fact that he got killed summarily by the police. That's the only thing I disagreed with you with. Yes, people could say he was a criminal. People could say he did bad things, but it didn't have anything to do with the day in question. Do you agree or disagree with that? And go on and slide your head.
I must have said 12 times in my video, he did not deserve to die, and I'm happy that Derek Chauvin is paying for that. Pause. That's not even a debate. So even going through that, not necessarily because I've already agreed with that. I said he should be alive today and should be in prison. Okay. What I'm agreeing with, what I'm disagreeing with.
Why can I not find these things on the internet?
In the same exact video that I watched, I mean the same exact video that I did that went viral, I said that. I started off with that. I mean, I said it at least in that video multiple times. I mean, you can go rewatch the video, right? It's just that that's not what the media runs with. So suddenly your memory becomes the headlines, right? And people tried to make it seem like I said he deserved to die. I'm like, I actually explicitly said, I want to be super clear that in no way am I saying that he deserved to die in that manner and that he should still be alive today, right? And the reason why I said there was no reason to debate that was because everyone agreed with that. There was not a single person in the world that said what Derek Chauvin did was right. There was no defense for it, right? What I am disagreeing with is the idea that this man should be painted in murals, should be called should be called a martyr, should be called a hero, okay? That the woman who had the gun pressed to her stomach should have to watch this bullshit. I am sick of Black America uplifting criminals. I'm just tired of it. You can say this man didn't deserve to die without throwing him a 4-day televised funeral, without asking a vice president to send a video, okay? He traumatized Black American communities throughout his entire life. He never stopped, okay? I do not support George Floyd. I'm not going, and we are the only community that does it. You will not find, you go to find that white guy who spent 9 stints in jail and prison, who white America is and you know more white people are killed by police officers than not. They throw their criminals away. They have no time for it. Jewish people, same thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that they would be out there not saying, okay, this little boy didn't deserve to die. They might say that statement. They're not doing what we did. This shit is way too extra. Okay, it's ridiculous. Take your kid out of this George Floyd t-shirt. This is not his idol. We got tons of good people in the Black community. This wasn't one of them. Okay, and that is my thing, and I stand by every single word that I said. Okay, I think he was a horrible human being who did a lot of shitty things to a lot of people throughout his entire life. Okay, you spend your whole life traumatizing the Black community, and you want me to be out there crying? No. Okay, shouldn't happen. Hope Derek Chauvin gets arrested. Oh, he's arrested. Okay, good. Next.
Okay,
that's my reaction.
So because my thing is that he has become the face of the movement because of what happened. So we're both in agreement that Chauvin should go to jail and he should be prosecuted, correct? Okay.
Everybody agreed with that. Everybody agreed that he had a right to get arrested, and this should, I mean, now, of course, as I said, the details weren't out, in the video. Apparently, they never showed us what the lead up was. George Floyd was saying, "I can't breathe" before he was ever on his neck. He was saying it from the beginning, which is likely a consequence of fentanyl. I mean, fentanyl is 100 times stronger than morphine. So he was likely having some sort of an overdose. And what should have happened in that moment is they should have let him sit down, right? And they should have called for an ambulance. There should have been no knee put on his neck. That's my opinion. I think they made a terrible decision by upping it to second-degree murder because they're not going to be able to prove that. And they should have kept it at manslaughter. But because they always respond to the media and they don't do what's right, it's actually very likely Derek Chauvin's going to get off now because people hyped this to a point that they went for a charge they're not going to be able to prove in the court of law.
Okay, so here's the thing. You say that the man is going to get off, right?
He might, yeah, because the charge.
But how do you get off of something so egregious? We watched this man put
because they did the wrong charge. They did the wrong charge
for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
I agree with you. What I'm saying to you, and you go look up conservatives writing this. If you follow this case, the mistake that was made was the DA making the charge second-degree murder. It was the biggest mistake in the whole case. If you wanted to get him, they should have kept it at manslaughter and went for the max sentencing. But they wanted to do the streets are alive, Black Lives Matter. We're going to go for a charge that you're not going to be able to meet. Every charge has a legal standard that has to be met. Okay, it was foolish. It'd be like saying we all just watched Candace steal a candy bar, right, live on television, and now the DA, because everybody's upset about it, is charging me with something else that they're not going to be able to prove, like automobile theft. It was just stupid. And I'm sitting here like, and this is because people are not educated about the law and don't understand legal stipulations that have to be met. We're going to see the same reaction when he likely gets off because there was a charge that they cannot prove. And I was saying, I'm like, why did they do that? Why did they do that? Why did they do that?
So here's the thing. I am pro-police, okay? But I am anti-police brutality. I am anti-no accountability. I am anti-police officers not being punished properly. I'm anti-police that do not stand up and police their own kind, because the thing that's scary about this is that the police are the people who are supposed to protect you. So who protects you from the bad guy when the bad guy is the person who's supposed to protect you, right? So just follow me with that. Why we watched someone get brutally murdered? How is there any way, regardless of what the guidelines are, what the charge is, that somebody walks away from that? And what is, in your opinion, what is the message that America is going to receive when you watch a man kneel on somebody's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds and they walk away? What is the message?
Because people don't know how the law works and they only know how emotions and reaction works, they're going to say it was this tremendous thing that happened because of a system, that was white or something racist, even though the person they switched, everybody involved is black now. They're still going to blame the system and say it's because of systemic racism or something like that, because people aren't educated and they just don't, everybody responds to emotions, nobody responds to facts. There are multiple articles of lawyers saying that the worst thing that was done in this case was upping the charge to second-degree murder. It shouldn't have happened. That's what people should be outraged about now. They should say, no, change it back to manslaughter because we want this guy to serve time in prison, right?
Okay.
So I know what's going to happen. I'm telling you that it's going to be misconstrued into a race thing when you have to charge people with what you're actually accusing of. If he's not guilty of something, he's not guilty of something. You can't just say that he's guilty of second-degree murder. There's a legal standard that has to be met, and it's not going to be met in this case, in my opinion. And just in my reading and watching all of the legal assessments, understanding Georgia law, it was foolish, but they had to do it because there was pressure from the black community who just wanted the biggest charge, which is not how our legal system works. So there's that.
So what do we do? Because I'm trying to figure out now, what do we do? Because there's no way
lower the charge. There should be demands to stop doing things because the community is upset, and do what you say. We want you to do whatever is going to ensure that this person serves time. Okay. That is what should be asked. Not I want him to be charged for the most egregious thing on the no. Just what is going to ensure that this person is going to serve time. I'm not a legal expert. You are. How do we do that, right? And that's the truth. But people are always in their feelings, and they're going to be in their feelings a few years from now when this case doesn't go the way they want it to go.
Okay.
I don't have horse in the race. I don't. I'm not really. Like I said, I'm not really, it is what it is because I know what's going to happen. So it's just waiting for it to happen,
I'm going to tell you that's going to be one of the most explosive moments in American history. If you think that Rodney King was some shit, wait until we see that. Now when that happens.
Well, the person that people should be rioting against is the person that upped the charge.
Okay, so here's my question to you. When that happens, in Candace Owens' mind, what is the next thing that needs to take place for Black people to be able to get some justice or be able to make a move that will resonate with the lawmakers to make sure that we turn this back? Their appeal or something. I want to know what you think should be done.
I mean, I think honestly, I'm just not that emotionally invested in the George Floyd case, so I'm the wrong person to ask this. You might be up and screaming like it's Rodney King time. Not me. Like I said, not my hero, not my martyr. I don't have any emotional investment in George Floyd. But my response outside of George Floyd, like what should the Black community be doing about anything that they feel well, first off, it's educating yourself, because you'll feel a lot less bothered by all this stuff if you just know the facts. And the facts are that Black Americans are not being targeted by police officers. We know white Americans are 25% more likely to be killed by police officers. That'll calm you down. That'll make you go, why aren't the news people telling the truth about this? Now, if for the 9 times a year that it does happen, it's bad, right? The 9 times out of, millions of interactions with police officers, there are 9 times a year where an unarmed Black man is being killed, right? And okay, that's bad. What are you going to do about that? It kind of goes back to my argument that I said to you when I say it's like trying to fight an argument saying we need to end racism, when you're never going to get people to not be racist, because racism is always going to exist because it's about humanity. Well, another part of humanity is that you're always going to get in every profession somebody who's doing something they shouldn't be doing, right? If you get it down to 0.00004% of the time, which is what it is in police circumstances, that's how many Black men unarmed are killed by police officers, 0.0004% of the time, you're doing pretty good. That's damn near perfect, right? And so, you're way more likely as a Black person to be killed by a doctor than you are by a police officer. I don't see the streets alive burning down hospitals. Now, that's because a part of humanity is that some people suck. You can find murderous accountants, okay? If you actually wanted to play the game and see across every statistic where we're most likely, that you'd be shocked. You'd be like, oh, we've been attacking police officers, but it's the damn accountants that are killing us, because human beings are human beings, okay? And human beings are allowed to step into any profession. So if you're trying to get better than almost perfect, you're fighting an uphill battle, right? It's never going to be won, but your emotions are already bought, and you're going to keep burning down your own neighborhoods. And it is what it is, That's what I can say to people.
Okay, so
realize it's a narrative.
Here's what I think. I cannot argue with you with the facts, like with the data, because like I said, I don't do that, and that's not my wheelhouse. But I will say this, as a Black man who lived in Harlem for many years, I have seen police brutality on many accounts. I have never been brutalized, but I have had certain run-ins with the police. To say that only 9 people a year get killed by the police, I don't know if I actually believe that. But if you want to talk,
unarmed.
Okay, but if you want to talk about interactions with the police in terms of Black people, whether it be harassment, whether it be disrespectful talk, whether it be ticketing, whether it be all of those things, the numbers are going to be much higher. Now, as far as I'm concerned, as a Black man, I have a Black son. I am nervous when he goes outside. I am nervous when he deals with the police.
Are you nervous when he deals with other Black men?
Hold on, because I know which way you're going to go with that. You're going to say,
I want to know.
I'm going to, hold on, but are we talking about the police now? Because at the end of the day,
no, I'm saying, but you can't be nervous about police officers and not be nervous about your son around other Black men. He's way more likely to be killed by another Black man.
Hold on, let me say what I'm going to say, because I understand where you're about to head with this. That forget police brutality. Let's talk about Black on Black crime. I'm not down for nobody getting killed whatsoever. A little baby got killed. I think it was in Chicago by a shooter.
Yeah.
I want everybody to go to jail. I want everybody to go to jail. The kid from Harlem, from my hood, hit the girl in the face with the skateboard. I'm in lockstep with you. He needs to go to jail. I got that. But I'm talking to you about the fact that for me, I don't know about, and I could talk for many, many Black people, police brutality, okay, you may say that the killings are 1 out of 9 killings every year or whatever, what have you, but there's way more interactions with police that are negative for Black people. Again, most of my interactions with police have been excellent, and also the ones that were going a little left, once they found out that I was Fatman Scoop, it kind of de-escalated, and I had to go way out of my way to prove to them that I would, to make them understand I'm not stupid, I'm not some ignorant Black man. I can talk, I can articulate my feelings, and this is not going to be something that you're going to just be able to walk through. With that being said, have you ever had any negative interactions with the police whatsoever?
I have. Yeah.
So give me,
I don't think there's a single person, no matter what race or sex they are, that has not had a negative interaction with a police officer, right? And that's another thing, is like Black people think everything is so exclusive to us. Like we just, oh, it's, you know, it's just us. No, it's not just you. This happens everywhere in America, right? Where sometimes cops are just power tripping dickheads, right? We've all had those cops. I had one that scared, I literally thought I was going to get shot, right? Like I literally thought I was going to get shot because I was speeding, but I had my music blaring. And I guess this cop, it was, you know, bright outside. And I guess this cop had actually, had been trying to pull me over for 2 miles. So he didn't know what it was. You know what I mean? Like, he just sees me keep going, whatever. But I actually was not hearing him, nothing. By the time I realized he pulled me over, he gets out of the car. He's like ready to like kill me. You know what I mean? And he made me so, I was actually so scared that even when he was done pulling me over, I couldn't drive because I was like shaking. I was so nervous, right? But I never for a second said this happened to me because I'm Black, right? I never had, everything with Black people has to be reduced to the color of our skin. Right. And then when people give you statistics, but then when people give you statistics and we go, okay, these statistics show that what you're saying happens to Black people happens more to this race. It's, oh, I don't care about statistics. I don't care about statistics. Statistics don't matter. That's the problem. It's like you're basically, I don't want to be educated. So I asked you a question. If you're going to authentically state, I am scared when my Black son goes out and has an interaction with police officers,
100%.
then you must also authentically state, okay, and with much more veracity, that you are scared when your Black son goes out and sees another Black person. Okay. And if you're going to say no, no, let me finish. If you're going to say no to number B, if you're going to say no to option number B, and dead ass try to keep option number A, then that's you being inauthentic.
Okay. So let me hold on. Let me walk you through it. I'm scared when he goes out in the street in general. So let's start here. I worked my ass off so that my son could live in New Jersey. Because I grew up in Harlem, where if you do something the wrong way, some wrong move, you could be in the middle of something, you could get killed. I put him in this life so that he wouldn't have to have that life. He chose to go back to Brooklyn, okay? So am I scared when he deals with the NYPD? Of course. Because there's a lot of wild motherfuckers on the NYPD. But am I afraid when he steps in the street in general? Yes, because in New Jersey, I always used to say this, and anybody who knows me will tell you this. In New Jersey, when you walk out the door, 300 options could take place. When you walk out the door in Brooklyn, New York, a million different things could happen. For example, he got into a fight. He knocked the kid out. The kid hit his leg. He messed up his leg. That's black on black crime. I understand that, but I'm just as worried about that as I am worried about him interacting with the police, because the police. Hold on, listen. The police in New York City don't play. Some of the police in New York City.
And they shouldn't.
Hold on, listen. Hold on. Some of the police in New York City are racist. Some of the police in New York City are not racist, but they've gone through so much bullshit dealing with other people, they are now jaded. So when they run up to one person,
it's a majority minority force. Just so you know.
When they run up to people, they treat some of them, because they are damn good police, but there are some that just like, I don't care. He's this, he's this, he's this. Another thing is that Black people look like a threat a lot of times. And without getting to know the person, they look at them outwardly as a threat. So when you say this to me, I am afraid for my son. From the NYPD, from the Bloods, from the stick-up kids, from everybody. I am. It's not like I'm just worried about that, but I am going to say this. I watch video, I have eyes, I see what happens. Personally, I'm disgusted when I see police brutality. I'm disgusted when I see black on black crime. I'm disgusted with all of it. But the biggest issue right now in America is what happened with this officer and this suspect.
Really isn't the biggest issue. And the fact that you think it is
to
what
me
the
it
issue
is.
That's the problem. That is the problem. That is actually, you are actually hitting at my entire thesis of what is wrong with Black America. The fact that you think George Floyd's death is the biggest issue happening in America right now is everything that is wrong with Black America. This is why we will never get ahead. I got about a list of 1,000 things I can give you that are a bigger issue. Not even 1,000. I'll give you a million things. If I miss breakfast, it's a bigger issue than what happened to George Floyd.
Hold on, before we go there. when I mean one of the biggest issues, there are bigger issues there are bigger issues in the world. The coronavirus is a big issue to me. Vaccination is a big issue to me. There's a bunch of different things, but there's so many things going on right now at this time. That is one of the biggest issues to people. It may not be to you, but there are a lot of people out here that consider.
No, and I'm saying I agree with you that a lot of people would say that's the biggest issue, and I'm telling you that ignorance is the reason that Black America can't get ahead.
Okay,
That is pure ignorance.
Okay, so tell me what are some of the biggest issues to you. So walk me through some of them.
Well, the number one issue to me in Black America right now, actually, I'm going to say number one, number two that I was saying, is that our education system is quite literally dumbing down Black Americans. Like, you want to talk about, I did a whole chapter in my book about how Democrats have recreated exactly what they did during the times of slavery. 75% of Black boys in California can't pass a basic literacy exam. Across 5 schools in Baltimore, they couldn't find a single Black child that was proficient in reading or was proficient in writing or math. Do you understand what's happening here? You want to know why Black Americans watch images on the screen and accept that to be reality? It's because they're not educated. Right? We have been selectively and intentionally dumbed down, because then they know that they can feed us culture, right? Get a bunch of celebs, people like LeBron James, who, by the way, incredible talent, not an educated man, okay? Massively talented, does a lot for his community, does great things, but he's not educated. And yet goons follow him off an effing cliff, okay? He didn't even, I mean, he was so talented, he didn't even get to finish high school. It was just like, hey, you got to go right to the NBA, as he should, right? But this is what the Democrats have done expertly, right? They're dumbing you down in school, telling you to follow your uneducated idols, right? And you're sitting here saying the biggest issue is because, well, everybody's saying this. No, it's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is we are literally being intentionally dumbed down, okay? The biggest issue is that the reason why we have the highest crime rates out of any community, bar none, okay? Black Americans are the most murderous community. It locks up with the fact that they systematically broke apart our families by incentivizing bad behaviors, okay? The biggest issue is our father absence. The fact that men are not growing up with men at home. You want to know why? The biggest issue is our culture, that we celebrate, I mean, I literally wrote a whole chapter in my book about people saying, oh, you don't represent Black America. I'm not trying to represent this Black America. I'm trying to represent Black America from the 1940s, okay? When our families were together, okay? When it was good vibes, when people were wearing suits and looked professional, when people were singing about love, and just my imagination, the temptation. That's what I grew up with. Okay, you can keep you're a bitch, you're a hoe, you're a thought, you're a slut culture until I want nothing to do with that. That is literally us burning our own society to the ground. And by the way, that's not Black culture. That's white Democrat culture. Okay, they did that. They did that. I'm not done. They did that by dumbing us down. Okay, they did that by putting stupid shit like colloquialisms in our school and telling us it's because they want us to feel comfortable being Black. They knew exactly what they were doing. And now we've converted it into believing it's our culture. It's not your culture. You were trained to do that shit, okay? I don't deal with any of that. That is not me. I want nothing to do with that. And the fact that you think, but you want me to be out there acting like a crazy person for George Floyd? I have nothing for George Floyd, okay? These are the issues that I'm trying to address right now, because we are literally being attacked. Our community is not going to mean shit, by the way. Talk about abortion rates. We're not going to mean shit. Nobody's going to care about our vote. You give it 10 years, and they're already converting now. It's going to be all about the Latinos, because they've already systematically trained us to abort our own kids. Our Black population growth has stagnated, right? We're not going up. It's stagnated, and it's going to go down soon, right? They're lighting up New York City pink because now they can do it at 9 months. They've now made it legal to pull a 9-month baby out of the womb.
Oh, I can't see your face. I can't see your face. So I got to see your face. Yeah, okay, yeah. So
they're lighting up a city pink, ripping out Black babies. There are more Black babies aborted than born alive in New York City. And you want to talk to me about George Floyd? I don't give a shit about George Floyd. I mean, I don't give a damn about George Floyd. I want him to be following the case.
Hold on, listen to what I'm saying to you. Everything that you just said, I personally agree with you. I agree with you. So you don't have no argument with me with that. I cannot say the Democrats are the ones that messed up the schools. To me, you say that's systematic racism. That's coming from the government. Would you say that that's coming from the government?
Yes, the Democrats put those in place, though. The government is either Democrat or Republican. All those laws, Department of Education, this is all the stuff that Betsy DeVos is trying to undo. And everyone's out here clowning her because she's rich. That's trying to get in school choice. All the stuff that Trump is trying to do right now, and he's being fought because people don't even understand what school choice is. They're literally talking about taking your tax dollars and giving it to you instead of you paying the tax, you being allowed to send your kid to a private school. The Democrats are blocking that. They're telling you not to get behind it. Do you understand your kid can go to the same private rich school as somebody else's millionaire son, and the Democrats are blocking that because they control the public education school system? It is the Democrats that put this shit in place. They're teaching the kids garbage right now, okay?
Okay,
Why
so
can't
can
they
I
pass a
ask you
basic
one?
reading exam?
I just want to ask you one question. Then that is systemic racism, am I correct?
Yes, you know what? But you opt into it.
Regardless of
But but it's not racism because it happens to white people too. White kids go to the same school. So it's not systemic because they did it. It's like saying welfare, right? So you could make an argument that welfare is a form of systemic oppression because when they announced it, when the Democrats announced the Great Society Act and we're like, we're going to give you stuff. I mean, LBJ was the biggest racist. This dude called everybody a nigger all the time. Sorry, that might get bleeped. All the time, behind closed doors, written into books, like he was an avowed racist. He put together the Great Society Act because he was forced to sign the Civil Rights Act because of all the riots that were happening in 1964. Then he immediately follows the Civil Rights Act of 1964, right, with the Great Society Act. We're going to help you, okay? You just make sure there's no father in the home. We're going to give you money. The government's going to give you money. This created the baby mama culture that we see today. That you want to talk about why black people are so disrespectful? You keep saying, oh, we're disrespectful, we're not respected. No, this is a community of black people that are disrespectful. This is more respectful than black community has ever been. This is not how our grandparents were. They were a respectful generation that had rules. They were strict. We have no respect for anybody now. But that's in our music. You're saying that, but you're in the music community. That's in our music. This respect is baked into our culture. You know what I'm saying? This is who we've become, and we keep calling it black culture. No, it's not. This is Democrat white man culture that was created, by a couple of white dudes sitting around in the 1960s. And you think it's yours. I don't. I know it's not mine. So I removed myself.
I just want to ask, because you going fast. Like listen, I thought I talk fast. You talk fast. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. You said that all the kids go to school together. In the hood, there are no white kids there. So if you want to say that, all those kids are from one area. So if that's the case, that's systemic racism because it's happening.
No, but it's not, because it's the same thing for all public schools. It's the public school system, right? So you send your kid to public schools, and so I mean, it obviously people that can afford to go to private school.
Everybody. It's affecting everybody, but
the most people that are likely to be able to afford to go to private school education are wealthy people, and wealthier people. We don't have a lot of black wealth in general. So I mean, if you can look at the numbers and say, okay, I noticed that more black people are suffering because of this, but there's also other reasons that's happening. Another great Thomas Sowell book is Inside the American Education System, where he talks about this, where he talks about even how they started putting in certain programs claiming that, multiculturalism, diversity. They're teaching your kids, a whole fucking class dedicated to, pardon my language, 87 genders. What the hell does my kid need to learn 87? My kid does not learn 87 genders, okay? He needs to study the French Revolution. He needs to understand you're tearing down history. He needs to know history, or else it will repeat itself. I'm saying they're replacing hard academics with foolish crap like the LGBT agenda and sex education. They're undermining parents in the school education. They started this crap in the 70s. In the early 70s is when it all started. Like, they started paying to put in crap, sexualizing children young, telling them to undermine their children. I mean, to undermine their parents. It's crazy, and this is what parents don't know.
Republicans had absolutely nothing to do with this. They had nothing. I'm just asking. I'm playing devil's advocate here. There's nobody on the Republican side that had nothing to do with this. This is all the work of Democrats. Now I want to preface it by saying this. Coronavirus has changed my entire stance on politics. I am no longer Democrat. I am not a Republican. I am not even independent. I am for who's going to show me the truth. And if I can make sense out of that truth and the numbers add up, I'm going to go where the truth is at. So for me, what I'm trying to understand is the fact that you're saying it's all coming from Democrats, but none of it ever came from Republicans. That doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, well, I'm going to explain to you very well. Do you think it was Republicans and conservatives that pushed through LGBT education? Do you think it was Republicans and conservatives who wanted to teach you all about abortion in school? It's antithetical to being a conservative and a Republican. It's antithetical, right? So of course it wasn't them that pushed this crap in. They were focused on hard academics. When Democrats got control, they rushed through a ton of nonsense. And I'm not saying that every Republican is good and there haven't been mistakes that are made on the Republicans' part. For those of you that don't know, I am a Republican now. I call myself a Trumplican. I like Trump because he tells the truth, because he doesn't speak like a politician, because he says things he definitely should not be saying, right? You know, he tells the truth. He can't help himself. He's a New Yorker. You know, he's a New Yorker. And that's why I like that about him. He just says it. People be like, oh,
Somebody
he's
told
divided.
me that. That's what one of my friends is like, because my thing is that I have an issue with the way that he talks to people, the way he addresses people. And I'm a New Yorker. I'm a straight New Yorker. No more New York than anybody could be New York. I just have a way that he does things. I think that he does some really super things. I think he does some dope things. I think the way that his messaging is, his timing, and some of those other things take every good thing that he does and it blows it away. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that shortly. You're saying a lot. Listen, a lot of what you're saying to me, I don't disagree with. We shouldn't be on ho, 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 bitch, bitch, bitch. Listen, I made records talking about back it up, girl, back it up, girl, back it up, girl. I made dance records. I made you shake your booty now, of course. But I'm not talking about somebody being a hoe and somebody being a bitch. I don't personally agree with that. That's not my stance. My stance is, okay, do I say back it up and do I say shake that booty, girl? Yeah, I do. But that's fun. That's not.
It's fun. It's like Baby Got Back. Like that was fun.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's fun.
Baby Got Back. That was a totally harmless, funny song.
I'm in lockstep with you when you say that a lot of this is disrespect culture. I'm in lockstep with you when you say that, you know, you could even take it one step further and say that it's the agenda of the industrial prison complex. You could say a lot of those different things. I would agree with you with those things. It's not like I don't agree with you, but some of the things that I was told and I heard, I just didn't agree with. Like again, we've gone to George Floyd. We've talked about all of that stuff. I'll give you a good one. Here's things that I do agree with you with. The kid in Harlem hits the girl in the face with the skateboard. You say he's a coward. He needs to be brought in lockstep. NBC News tweets, a COVID-19 vaccine will only work if trials include Black participants. You said, remember the 40-year-old Tuskegee experiment where our government pretended to give Black people a vaccine but gave them syphilis? No way. I'm with you. I'm in lockstep.
Not for me.
I'm in lockstep. All right. Yeah. I'm in lockstep with you. Me and you on that. We can hug it out with each other in Jesus' name. We can do it. There are things that I don't agree with. When you said, attention CEOs and business owners, please grow a spine. Stop issuing public apologies, stepping down from your own board and posting black squares. Stop allowing the radicals in your company to extort your brand. And my question with that was, but here's my question, and that I wanted to ask you. Why is it okay when other races protest and boycott and apply pressure, but then the one time that we do it, you view it as a problem? And no. Let me finish it. Let me finish it, because we're not fighting. Remember, we just talking here. Why should people be able to accept our dollars but not represent our interests? And that's something that when I saw that tweet, I just couldn't understand it. And again, nobody's winning this conversation. This is discourse.
First off, let me just clear up the idea that I only say this about Black Americans when no. I was very anti the feminist white girl Me Too movement. I was the most vocal person against it because, hello, Black America. Remember the last time white girls just believe women? I think our ancestors got hung. I think Emmett Till got, tarred and fed. How foolish for us to get behind this white girl, wealthy feminist. I don't remember anything, but I know it was him. You can see if it can happen to someone like Brett Kavanaugh, you better believe Black American men are going down first. So I've been against tons of movements. You guys just pay attention when I'm talking about Black people. There are tons of Antifa since the beginning. I've been talking about because these radicals, I'm not just talking about Black Lives Matter, but this stuff I'm talking about is this extortion shakedown where now you're saying if a company says nothing, they're complicit in racism. Maybe they want to mind their own business. Maybe Chick-fil-A just wants to make goddamn chicken. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, why are we gonna be behind your cause? You don't have to eat a Chick-fil-A if they don't post a black square. But why should they have to post a black square? I will be damned, especially me coming from absolutely nothing, starting my life $150,000 in student loan debt, working my butt off, paying my loans down by myself, making my first $1 million by myself. If I would let the people that are in my company tell me what I have to do, no. Okay, you don't like that I don't have a statement to say about this. Okay, well then you know you don't have to work here. That's on you. You don't. It's certainly not a requirement. But this whole
Okay.
idea of going around and saying if you don't make a statement, you're this, you're that. That's bullying. Okay, that's
Okay.
some
So
people like to mind their own business, have nothing to say about it, or maybe privately disagree. You know, they don't. You don't need to tell companies they need to become your political voice. That's not the job of companies. Actually, I can't stand it. I can't stand walking around and seeing companies always have to make a political statement. Low-key, I'm not even gonna lie, I got so angry. I used to go to this furniture store I used to go to all the time in DC. Go in during LGBT month and they got this massive rainbow flag and a statement, love is love. People come, I'm like, why do you have this on your store? Like, they're like, what do you mean? And the guy, mind you, the guy that helps me is gay. I'm like, were gay people not allowed to buy furniture before? No. Okay, so why is that? We want them to know this is stupid. I don't need just sell furniture. I don't need to see a political statement everywhere I go. I just want to eat a burger.
okay.
I just want to buy some furniture. I don't care.
So let me ask you. Here's my question, and I'm asking you. Go and drink your water.
And LBGT. I've been so outspoken against the trans thing too. So again, people like to pay attention when I say stuff about the Black community, but I've gone hard against a lot of crap. Probably the hardest against the trans stuff because I have no tolerance for it.
Okay, so, hold on, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. Here's where I disagree with you. If you want my money and you're actively taking my dollars, why should you not represent my interests? I'm giving you my
because they're taking your dollars because you want to use their gym. They're giving you the gym. Chick-fil-A is giving you chicken. They don't need to then be, if you want your voice represented, that's your politician. Go vote.
Okay,
that's not their job.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. If I support you, why should you not be sympathetic to my causes? Because I support you.
That's great. You don't even you sound ridiculous right now. Imagine if I said from now on, you know what, Fatman, I've listened to all of your music, and from now on, whatever cause Candace feels strongly about, you need to do a mixtape on. So your next mixtape is going to be, if you don't post a statement against the trans agenda, why should I support you? That's not your job. You make hip hop music. You don't do political statements, mix it. Like, that's not when I came to you and listen to music. I didn't come to you to listen to music because I wanted to hear your political ideas.
Okay, but listen, if my business deals with your community, if my business, because there's certain, I'm not saying all businesses, but if my business deals with your community, maybe you should make a statement. Just follow me here now. The New York Knicks, 75% of the New York Knicks are Black. Do you think, I'm just asking you a question here. Do you think that they should make a statement being that their product is Black, their athletes are Black? Don't you think that and sports is a completely different thing because the athlete kind of runs the show. Do you think that they should make a statement, or it should be like, fuck it, we're not making no statement about nothing?
They should make no statement.
Bounce the basketball.
None. Yep, none. No statement should be made because you're sitting here and you're assuming that everybody agrees with that statement. They don't. I don't support Black Lives Matter. Everything Black Lives Matter has done, first off, the millions of dollars that they raise, where are they going? Nobody knows. It's a black hole. Millions of dollars are being raised. It's a company that on their website, they say that their major issue that they're after is, LGBT equality. If you look at their statements, nobody knows where the money goes. Okay. And they don't have a central office. Nobody knows who's getting paid when they raise $40 million in one day because George Floyd died. And you want them to make a statement in support of that shit. No. Okay. I don't want to see it. I do not. Every time Black Lives Matter pops up on the scene, there happens to be a political candidate that's running and neighborhoods get burned down. So I could say that same company, I feel disrespected by the fact that you're promoting Black Lives Matter because I think that they are terrorists to the Black community. Now they got to decide between your version and my version, or should they stay out of it because we both use them for chicken. Chick-fil-A, I want to eat your chicken. That's it.
I want to say this because a lot of stuff we're in agreement with. I personally feel, my personal opinion is, and this is my opinion, just like you have your opinion. If you take my dollars, you should understand where you should represent where I'm coming from, or you should make a statement. But then at the same time, you can make the same statement that, you listen to Fatman's who makes music. I don't have to make a statement about anything. That's just where we disagree. That's just. I
say you take my dollars, do what I'm paying you for. That's it.
Black Lives Matter, right? I did look into it. I saw a thing. I'm still researching it, so I don't want to open my mouth and make a statement. I'm still researching where the money went, what's happening, what's going on. I just heard what you said. I'll look into that a little deeper. What is the biggest issue that you have with Black Lives Matter, and do you think that Black Lives Matter?
My biggest issue with Black Lives Matter is that they are hyper-focused on the 9 Black people that die at the hands of police officers. It's not a movement that is about Black Lives Mattering. If Black Lives Matter was to take up a Black cause and talk about how Black Lives Matter, they would pick up the abortion topic, okay? And then I'd be like, you know what, let me get one of those teachers. This is actually a very big deal. Our community was intentionally targeted, by eugenicist Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, who quite literally wrote in a letter that she wanted to exterminate the Black race. Somehow the Democrats have been able to market it to us, and we are doing it. So if Black Lives Matter wants to get real, they can talk about Black on Black violence. They can talk about what's going on in the streets of Chicago, Detroit, Trenton, any of these places where Black people are being killed at a higher rate than the entire year, by the way, in one weekend, okay? Entire year of police, 9 people, 40 people in one weekend in just one city, Chicago, are getting shot, right? And Black Lives Matter keeps their mouth shut on it. My problem with Black Lives Matter is they're completely fraudulent. They don't care about Black lives. They care about extorting Black emotion, like and the NAACP, right? Can I get Black people super emotional real quick and raise millions of dollars? The answer is yes, and they do it every single time. And the Black community never sees any of that money. Okay, did they give money to the Black businesses that were burned down? Right? So that's your organization. Candace is a coon. Candace is raising money to give to Black businesses, but that's your organization. You don't even know where the money goes. It's a fucking scam, a modern day scam. You all got hustled. Every single person else. They can't answer a question about finances. They can't. They're like, oh, I don't know. We don't know where it's all going.
Candace, I didn't get hustled because I didn't. I'm studying exactly where. I need to go back.
Did you give money?
Hold on. Let me double back. Since the coronavirus hit, I look at every single thing with a magnifying glass, a pair of glasses in the sun. So I did not donate anything. I'm asking questions, and personally, I want to see I need to find out where that money's going so I understand what I'm actually donating to. Now, if I could see, okay, I'm donating to person X, and I know that person. I give you a good example. I'm donating to my friend Tanya Garris. I give her money. I see her out in the streets of Philadelphia with the bags from Costco giving people money. I did that. But if I can't see, for me personally, if I can't see where it's going,
over $100 million. They don't even have an office. Where is the money going? Right? It's a black hole. And people, how could you not support? What the hell are you supporting? Nobody even knows. They're just like, I don't know. We just all started saying Black Lives Matter, and then millions of dollars were raised because you're being used. Again, Black Americans are always being used. We're always the pawns because they know they're systematically making us the dumbest race in America, and they know they're making that. And what goes hand in hand with ignorance is emotion, right? So when you don't know things, it's like a toddler. Why are they always crying and wilding out? They don't really know anything, right? So they're wilding out, they're throwing temper tantrums because that's the only way they can express themselves. We are watching and allowing these Democrats to systematically turn us into a group of toddlers. And while we should be arguing about why aren't our boys reading, right? Why we're doing that right now at Blexit. We're creating a summer reading program that's going to launch next year. That's going to go into inner cities, take these Black kids and teach them how to read. I understand mom's got to work, dad might not be home. You can come here for free. We will teach you how to read, okay? Because that's your key to life. I mean, that was the biggest blessing of my childhood, was that my mom was an avid reader and she got me into books. And because I love to read so much, I can't become a slave. Slaves weren't allowed to read for a reason when we were slaves, because they knew that an educated mind couldn't be controlled. But right now we're not educated and we're being controlled, right? So this is a new form of slavery. So people say, Candace says on the plantation to be, theatrical. No, I'm saying it because I believe it, because I studied exactly what slavery was, what they did. We weren't allowed to read. The families were ripped apart because they didn't want people having any attachments. So they could continually trade us. We would have no feeling, no sense of ownership, no sense of belonging in our homes. Frederick Douglass in his autobiography talks about the fact that when his mom died and his sisters were taken away from him, he felt nothing, because that was the condition of slavery, to make us immune to that sort of stuff, right? So you have that going on. You have the breakdown of family. You have us not being able to read. And what you have right now is a modernized plantation, and nobody knows. And we're doing their work. We're raising money for them. We're keeping them in power the same way that we are picking cotton and making money for them. We're doing it for free, and we don't even know.
Okay, so hold on. Let me stop you. My mother was God bless the dead, Clara E. Freeman. My mother was a teacher. She was an elementary school teacher, and then she was the administrator. I learned how to read at 1. I was reading the New York Times at 3, to the point where we were going to the library, and there would be like a white librarian there, and she'd be like, my son can read the Times. Yeah, get out of here, you lying. And I would read the Times. I agree with you that reading is absolutely fundamental for the growth of everything. Everything that you need to find is in a book. Everything, all the secrets, all the answers are in a book. I got that. You are doing great work with teaching kids to read and stuff like that. Here's what I'm going to say to you after having this conversation with you. It's the most important thing. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get on the phone with you, and we're going to talk just ourselves now, just me and you. You talking about some dope shit that you're doing, right? But I'm just going to be honest with you. Some of the things you say and the way you say them, and maybe it comes across as callous and lack of empathy, is blowing away all the dope shit that you're talking about. Like, I'm sitting here and listen, y'all can say whatever y'all want about me. Ah, Fatman scoop this. No. When I hear truth, if it's real, I'ma fuck with it. If you're talking about getting kids to read, if you're talking about bettering black people, if you're talking about all of that, I'm with you. But the way that some of the things that you're saying are coming across is not working. Do you think that maybe if you change the way your messaging is, that perhaps you could grab a bunch of people like me that might be saying that'll walk in saying, man, fuck Candace Owens, man, and then turn around and be like, yo, she got some dope shit to say. And that's, forget all these other questions, because I got a million questions. That's my big takeaway right now. I'm hearing you say a lot of shit. I'm hearing you say that you never said the racism shit. And if you didn't say it, they can take it right now because it's available on the media. So
yeah, go check it out.
You can take it and do whatever you want and prove you wrong.
Yeah, I didn't say it. Never said it.
Listen, you have so many good things you're saying right now. If you change the messaging, perhaps you're going to win a lot of people. And I think that the goal, whether you like it or not, I don't know if you just want to be incendiary. I don't know if you just want to, fucking do whatever. You could get so many other people if maybe the messaging was changed. What do you think about that? Just take a minute and just answer it for me.
No, I have an answer to it, because I mean, you're not the first person that has said that to me. And there's two ways to answer this. The first thing is that most people don't. I say this stuff all the time. I spend 5 days on the road talking in front of Black people in the community, giving speeches everywhere. There is so much content me available. People don't listen because only time I make a headline is when something is controversial, right? So really, people know me as a caricature. They know me as a headline written by an organization that hates me, that's owned by white Democrats. I mean, The Root, this is not owned by Black people. You know what I'm saying? Owned by Black people. So they don't even know what my ideas are because you're so busy getting incensed by headlines, right? So that's the first thing, is that I say this all the time. The second thing is in terms of asking me, to change my approach. Here's the thing. Why was nobody even talking about anything? Why, when I spoke to Dr. Ben Carson, I met him in his office, he says, I don't know how you've been able to go so far. And I dedicated my whole life to this. Dr. Ben Carson is a literal brain surgeon. This dude is obviously smarter than me, right? He's a literal brain surgeon, right? Mm-hmm. But what was the difference? Because I didn't want to be polite, because polite wasn't working with Black America. You're talking about, if I could have said this nicer, it's already been said nicer to you. Dr. Condoleezza Rice said it nicer, right? Dr. Ben Carson said it nicer. Larry Elder has said that nice doesn't work with us because we're too goddamn disrespectful, okay? So the truth is that you get a bunch of community that hasn't been parented, that has their fathers removed, and you're gonna say, go in there and be a nice nanny? No. People right now, Black America needs a spanking, okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, Black America does not need nice. We got nice. We didn't listen to nice. We didn't listen to nice babysitter. I'm not here to be a nice babysitter anymore. I'm here to tell you the truth.
Listen,
you can listen to it.
Is that you can't get the mess. What I'm trying to get to you, and this is not an argument, is that I respect a lot of what you're saying. But if you're spanking people instead of kissing them, it's harder to get the message across. Listen, we don't have to argue about that now. I mean, not argue, but we don't have to talk about that now. But I just want that in the back of your mind. That's just my personal opinion. That's where I stand with it, because I'm hearing a lot of real shit from you. Like, I spent 3 days looking at all your videos and stuff like that. I'm tired of looking at your face. I saw your video so much. Like, I'm like, damn, or, whatever. But if it's delivered, and this is me, and you don't have to argue. You don't have to say nothing. This is just me. Some of the messages that you're hitting us with are really, really good, but it's getting lost in the other stuff. So I'm just gonna go through some of these questions real quick, and then because we could be here forever. For people who, okay, so, and these are questions that people ask, so I want your opinion on this, because I don't know. Again, I'm gonna ask you because what I read, I'm not gonna believe, so I'm just gonna ask it like I don't know it. Do you identify with yourself as Black?
Yes, I am Black.
Okay.
I identify as I am Black.
Cool. Because again, stuff in the media, stuff in the news. I'm gonna just ask.
Oh, you know what? I did see somebody recently said Candace is Caribbean. So stupid. I mean, people are just so dumb sometimes. Yes, I have one grandparent that is Caribbean and from St. Thomas. Like, I got 4 grandparents. So, I have, it's okay that I have one grandparent that is from Caribbean, that is from St. Thomas. So when I say I have St. Thomian roots and Caribbean roots, that's what I'm referring to. One grandparent out of 4.
Okay, cool. Do you feel that these Confederate statues should be removed? If so, why? If not, why?
No, they should not be removed. And this is, again, so sad about people not knowing history at all. Like Robert Lee, that is just so sad to me that his statue got removed because, so for those of you who are interested in learning about the Civil War, the idea that it has been reduced to a war about slavery is just absurd. Do you guys understand the South? Less than 1% of the people owned slaves. The idea that these people were fighting to maintain the slaves that none of them freaking had, it was the upper 1%. It would be like saying, we launched a war right now to protect our mega mansion. People don't live like that. You know what I'm saying? There was upper crest, less than 1% owned slaves. They were not fighting because they wanted to maintain their slaves. They were dirt poor soldiers. Robert Lee was invited by Abraham Lincoln to fight in the North. Both the Union president and the Confederate president both asked him to fight for them because he was so respected. And do you want to know, General Robert Lee almost fought for the Union soldiers, except here's what he changed his mind at the last second because he said, I could never turn my gun on Virginia because he was from Virginia and Virginia decided to fight for the Confederate. Okay, so the idea that he was this horrible human being and all this stuff, no, it was not about slavery. It was about him not wanting to turn a gun on Virginia. He is, honestly, you study real history, go watch Ken Burns did a documentary on the Civil War, piecing together just incredible documentary, and you'll understand how layered, how, what this war was really about. People, again, a caricature. It's like World War II. Now people say it was just about the Holocaust. World War II was not all about the Holocaust. It wasn't a bunch of Germans hating the Jews, right? But we take the worst part of something and we say that's it. That's all we're going to talk about. That is what this war was about, and it wasn't. It was much more complicated. I mean, so sad. I mean, there was another group of Confederate soldiers who they were honoring at some university. They took down their things. I mean, these were piss poor white trash people that couldn't even read. It's just like, and you're sitting here, you made them all slave owners in your head. It's crazy.
Okay, so here's my question to you. In your mind, what does the Confederate flag represent?
Well, you're talking about Confederate statues, right?
No,
it represents the Confederate. Oh yeah, the Confederate flag. The Confederate flag represents a time when America was an extremely young country, and they had no leadership, and they wanted to fight because the South wanted to be completely separate from the North, and this was their flag. To them, when people are fighting to say that they want to keep this flag, it's not because it represents racism and that. It's because literally their boys died under it. Their relatives died under that flag. That's family history. It'd be like right now, we have the American flag, 50 stripes, right? Let's say we decide that something we've done in the time that we've had the 50 states, like Jim Crow law, is that now we say this flag represents that. Well, no, it doesn't mean that for the people that died under the flag. There were black men that fought for the Confederate side. There were black soldiers that fought. So like this whole idea, we have to stop reducing everything to being about us. It wasn't. It really, yes, slavery was one component, and yes, the rich slave owners that were financing the war in the South did want to keep their slaves, and those people, it's unforgivable. But taking down Robert Lee's statue, man, please go actually learn about who that general was. Ulysses S. Grant. They pulled down Ulysses S. Grant. I mean, it's like, what are you doing? Everything we have is because of Ulysses S. Grant, in terms of ending that war and having the North win.
My question, my thing is this, and I have a lot of family in the South, and I can say this because I'm with them. I listen to them. The majority of my family is from Virginia. When
Me too.
when people of color see the Confederate flag, to them, to some of my family members and many other black people, it is a sign that those particular people wanted to go back to that time. That's how it is perceived. Do you agree with that or disagree with
No,
that in any way?
listen, I obviously agree with that because you're seeing people, if people say that that's how they feel, that's how they feel. I'm not here to, I can't argue somebody's feelings. You know what I'm saying? I'm just telling you the facts. And the facts is that it's just not what that war was about. The war has been reduced to a war about slavery, and it was much more complicated than that. I mean, even Abraham Lincoln giving us our freedom was really just a strategy. You know what I'm saying? It was just a strategy to win the war. Like, let's cause uprisings on their plantations. I mean, so, this whole idea that Abraham Lincoln just wanted to free the slaves, he didn't even talk about freeing the slaves until way into the war, because it became a strategy for him to get support overseas, because at that point the only place in the world that they had said slavery is wrong was France and the UK, right? So they said we can get support from the crown, we can get support from overseas if we formally come out and say we disagree with slavery. So really you're talking about burning down everybody's statues. I mean, this we just,
But
it's just such foolishness. And Dinesh
but
D'Souza does a really good book on that called The Big Lie, and I would suggest you read it.
okay, but you do understand that what that means to people. And there's been particular times that I've been in the South, and people like it was really really hairy, and these people were running around with the Confederate flag and yada yada yada. We're not going to get into all that, but it is perceived to many people that that flag represents that those people who wear it want things to go back to the way they were. So
Listen. I'm not making an argument to keep the flag. I'm saying if you're saying people, it makes you feel this way, and you want to compromise, take the flag, but don't remove the statues. I just think that,
okay.
it's just, you just don't remove the statues, man. Come on, like,
Two,
and
two questions.
like, I'm sorry, where were all these emotions when Obama was in office? This is BS. Nobody cared about the statues. Now they have to come down immediately because Trump's in office. Nobody cared. You know what I mean? So I'm finding that I think the Confederate flag argument has actually been going on for a very long time. So I find that to be a valid argument. Anything that popped up when Trump became president and you didn't care when Obama was in office, it's fake. You know what I mean? So the Confederate flag, my cousins in Virginia said the same thing to me. They live in Buckingham, and they said the same thing, that like they've never felt comfortable about the Confederate flag. So I'm gonna, those feelings are valid. You can't say that they're not valid, but the statues, that's fake.
Here's the thing. Not conditioned, but we are kind of molded to believe that you would never have that line of thought. Because again, it's all about the optics and stuff like that. Because again, you just said, no, I don't agree with that. So, and this is going to be up for all of you to see, so you can go back and see it. And she's on record saying it. Two questions. Do you believe that blacks should be given reparations? If so, what should we receive, and how should we receive it? And secondly, should African American history be taught in schools? If so, why? If not, why?
Absolutely 100%. Any person that was a slave in this country should get reparations.
No, but I mean that's us, the ancestors.
Oh, no. That's not how this works, okay? Because you want to play that game, and you're going to be giving money to everybody forever, okay? Every person, the whole world was a world of slavery. And this is what I did not get to finish when T.I. cut me off, who was one of the most ignorant, dishonest, two-faced people you will ever deal with, okay? I'm going to say that on the record. T.I. is a fraud, a fake.
But you know I'm in the industry. You know you can't
my
do that.
Opinion, you didn't say it, I said it. My opinion, you said I can say what I want to say? That's what I'm going to say. And I'll say the exact opposite about Killer Mike, who was one of the most authentic. He acts the same way behind closed doors as he acts in front of people. T.I. is the opposite. He'll say all this stuff to you on the phone, and then when you get on stage, try to be creating a moment, okay? So I'm just telling you how I feel. But what I did not get to finish when he cut me off, he said you started with some bullshit. What I was going to say was that one of the things that, again, and this is what race and intellectuals helped me to realize, the idea that you're going to start giving reparations for slavery. Slavery was everywhere in the world, okay? We were sold into slavery by, Africans. We were not kings and queens. We were slaves, okay? And we were sold into slavery, sold into the Atlantic trade slave, primarily because of our genes, because the colonialists were getting killed by yellow fever, and we were immune to it. All right. So they were dying in the same way that when they went to the African country, they were being killed by the yellow fever, even trying to get into Africa, because we had better immunity. We had better, we had stronger genes. We could deal with us, laboring in the sun. Their skin couldn't do that. But my point is that slavery was all over in the world. Actually, the first people to end slavery were white men. right? It was France, actually it was Britain, followed by France, followed by America. And slavery still went on everywhere. China, I mean, just slavery was just a condition of humanity. You know, the Egyptian slave trade, they were enslaving white people. So the idea, again, that we make it all about us, the worst slave trade in the North Atlantic was actually, it was in the Atlantic, was in Brazil. Brazil had the nastiest slave trade, the worst substandard slaves. You don't hear anybody talking about this but us, right? And the only reason why we do this, the reason why we can't get ahead, first and foremost, is because they want us to keep focusing on this period to make it seem like it was unique to us. It wasn't unique to us. I'm sorry to say that. I am sorry to tell Black America that we are not a special snowflake. If you are looking for injustices, that was the condition of humanity. It was a horrible, brutish, life was short, people were terrible everywhere. Worst of all, on the African continent, the Muslims were the absolute worst. Okay, and yet we would be so sensitive to Muslims and say all of this stuff. So the idea that we deserve reparations is a really good strategy for Democrats to get us to vote for them. Okay, first off, it's going to be nearly impossible for them to prove that your family were slaves. How are you going to be able to prove that the white people that you're saying need to pay into this weren't people that fought to end slavery? How can you prove they were slave owners? I mean, do you understand how disputed this will be all the way up to the Supreme? You just cannot do it. We are too mixed. It's an improbable argument. That's why they're saying we're going to put together a panel to discuss it. They know it's never, ever, ever going to happen.
I want to ask you a question. The American Indian has got reparations in this country, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So how were they able to do it?
Well, wait, hold on. They don't get reparations. They get money.
That's what I'm talking about. To me, reparations.
Yeah, but only down to a certain only down to a certain percentage. They don't keep getting it. It stops at you have to be 1/16th Native American to get it. It does stop. And the reason I think that is because, you know, obviously they took all of their land and all this stuff. I know it's because I have Native American in my family. My grandfather's grandmother was 100% Native American. Right. So I know this because I was like, damn, like, could I have gone to college for free? And I actually looked into it because I have a Cherokee great grandmother. And it was down to a certain point. Slavery is way past that point. You're just not going to get it. I mean, and then people talk about the Japanese internment camps. They gave it to people that were actually in the internment camps, right? You get what I'm saying? So it's like now you're asking to do something. You're asking people that were never slaves to pay, right? And people that were never slaves to get paid. And here's the thing, even if they in some freakish way worked it out, and the Democrats are only doing this because it's their next thing that they can promise us. They always promise us free stuff. That's their thing, right? And then we get behind them like, yeah, you're right, we should deserve it, it's a good idea. It's never going to happen. But let's say it did happen. How much do you actually think the government's going to give you? $400? You're going to spend the weekend at the club? Don't be foolish. Just don't fall for these scams. We got to stop being hustled. I mean, this is the ultimate hustle. Oh, suddenly you realize reparations, something. You guys had freaking 400 years to discuss reparations. You decided right now in the middle of an election cycle to bring it up. Joe Biden, really? You've been in office for 34 years. You just now, right now, we're the vice president. Now you want to talk about reparations? Come on, man. Democrat hustle.
I want to ask questions because, again, my family, I have Blackfoot Indian in my family. Speaking of which, one of my advisors just called, and he's Indian, and that's where I got kind of all of this from. They are taken care of on the reservation. They get certain perks. They can open up businesses. They can have casinos on their land.
That's a reservation. Do you want that?
I don't, huh?
Do you want that? They're literally not a part of America. It's their own reservation.
Right. It's their own reservation.
Yeah.
So they can and listen. That works for you if you learn how to manipulate that system. So those people have learned how to use that, make casinos, create money, have their own situation, and they made it work. For me, reparations, I don't know how we would be able to get reparations. I don't know how we would be able to do it. I don't think that it's going to be possible. If it was me and I was in charge of reparations, we would get it, but there would have to be a certain way that you get it. It would have to be, okay, you can go to college for free. It would have to be linked to opportunities. It would have to be linked to certain things. It couldn't be, listen, you're going to get $300,000 because that's not going to work. The reason I ask about reparations is because I'm trying to figure out the way that we can get ahead and get moving. Because
we're never going to get ahead. We're never going to get ahead by giving free stuff.
I just want you to listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that the experience that we went through in slavery has put us in the situation that we're in right now?
Nope.
The experience, hold on, let me just finish my question. The experience that Black people went through in slavery, you don't think that has anything to do with the way we are today?
I know it doesn't. I know
Tell
it
me
doesn't.
why.
And this is the part that you learn when you actually study Black history. Because in the 100 years following slavery, Black Americans were almost eclipsing white Americans in terms of economic growth. Okay, so let me just give you one little factoid. That's an interesting one, right? When was the last year that Black Americans had a lower unemployment rate than white Americans?
You know I don't do the
No,
numbers.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm asking the question like almost rhetorically. I know you're not gonna be able to randomly pull that from your butt, like obviously.
Okay.
But the answer is 1930. Interesting, right? In the middle of Jim Crow, there were more employed Black people than there were white people. Now, why did that happen? Because the government wasn't involved in employments. You want to know what actually changed that? The minimum wage law changed that. The minimum wage law was actually, if you study the history of the minimum wage law, they created it to price Black people out. This is why I don't support minimum wage law, to price Black people out of jobs. Meaning, if you were a Black guy, the reason why they were passing them is because white people would say, well, I want to make $12 an hour doing this job. Black people would be like, I'll come in, I'll do it for $8. And they were like, all right, we're going to hire Black people. So we were just crushing it. Our families were together. We were outpacing whites in terms of economic growth up until the 1950s, right? So you look at the record, the trajectory of Black America post-slavery, 100 years, goes, right? Suddenly, everything starts going down. We start going down every single category following the Great Society Act of 1964. So if slavery was such a horrible institution that we're still feeling it today, why did we do this and then come down? What happened was Black America married the government, and we are still married to the government, and we're even discussing marrying the government more, right? This is the conversation we just had, reparations. That right there is the government proposing to Black America again, because they realize they're losing a little bit of control. Study Black America, it starts going downhill exactly, which is ironic, after the Great Society Act was put into place. And that was when our family was completely trashed. Crime rates went up. I mean, even the arrests. The system is the reason we weren't locked up like this. We weren't, right? This is all brand new. This is the Black America that is the result of father absence, which, by the way, Barack Obama, who I am not keen on, gave a wonderful speech, an honest speech on Father's Day in 2012, where he talks about what happens when you grow up without a father in the home. Just one thing, growing up without a dad in the home. You are 20 times more likely to end up in prison. So people will say, why are so many Black men in prison? This one little thing that the government did, removing dads from the home, almost guaranteed it. It's because you know what happens when you take parents out of the home, kids still naturally pursue that paternity elsewhere, that maternity elsewhere. If mom and dad are at home, you're not going to just be like, oh, okay, well, whatever, I'm going to raise myself. You're going to go, all right, well, who's going to become mom and dad? Kids turn to the streets, right? Because they get that paternity that they're not getting from their fathers. Kids turn to hip hop. This is how Jay-Z and Beyonce, why do you think Hillary Clinton, you think this woman can't even name a Beyonce or Jay-Z album, right? She can't even name a Jay-Z album. She, 2 nights before the election, had him on stage. Jay-Z, she does not, Jay-Z to her is an absolute idiot, a useful idiot. I need the Black vote, so let me give Black people what they want right here. Jay-Z, Beyonce, put on I'm with her shirt, and Black people do what they're supposed to do, right? We saw this exact same thing. I mean, Joe Biden, Charlamagne's interview, he didn't have time for the questions. He was like, if you don't vote for me, you ain't Black. Like, I'm not coming back into the studio. I've done this once, checked it off. They don't care because they have created a system.
I wanna say this. I was highly angered by that, because that is absolutely the wrong thing to say. You can't say if you don't vote for me, you're not Black. You can't say that. You can't say that. So I spoke to Charlamagne about that. That's not the thing. You said
he's a good dude, by the way.
You see,
I like
Charlamagne's on point. He's on point.
I talked to him, like, he's been real. We disagree on stuff, but like as he conducts himself behind closed doors is as he conducts himself in front of the camera. So I respect him, We disagree, we get into it. Why'd you say this, blah, blah, blah. But he is who he is, and so I respect that.
That's exactly the way that I look at what's happening with me and you. I don't have to. There are some things you said, I'm like, something not for me. But I give you the chance to have your own opinion, and whether I like it or not, I'll respect it. I'll hear it. I'll ask my question, and then we can go back and forth. And for me, I'm gonna always be the same motherfucker I am, inside, outside, day in, day out,
right.
Black, white, otherwise. You don't like Obama?
No, I think Obama, you know, and when I say I don't like Obama, like I cried the night he won. I was so happy. So I want to be clear. Like, and I still, when people ask me that, because now I understand his policies, I understand what he did, and he wasn't a president that was for Black America, but we got tricked because, you know, the moment meant so much to us. And people ask me sometimes, like, would you undo it? Like, do you wish that we had a president who did more? And the answer is no, because I think it was still, despite the fact that he did nothing for Black America, the moment was necessary. We needed to know it could be done. You know, what I felt in my heart the night that he won, despite the fact that he did nothing for us, it was important, right? He broke a ceiling in a way that needs to be broken, right? And honestly, in that regard too, though, I also thank him because it made me realize now that I'm much more educated about policies, that just because someone looks like me doesn't mean they represent me. You know, and they're running their campaigns like that now. You know, I'm with her. If you're not a woman, you know, if you don't vote for Hillary, you're not a woman. The hell? This woman locked up more, her husband locked up more Black men than any president in the history of the United States. And I got to vote for her because we have the same anatomy, you know? So we got to stop being tricked to think that because somebody has the same color as us, or the same anatomy as us, that they're going to represent our best interests. That's just not how it works. So I don't respect Obama because he scammed us. Okay. He had all this time. He did nothing for Black America, but invite rappers to the White House. That's the truth.
Okay. So,
right?
so that would be the way you feel about Obama would be the way people feel about you, because they say, "Oh, she looks like us, but she's not. She's not like us."
And yet, I run a minority-owned business with all minority employees, with the exception of one white person that works for Blexit, raising money for Black people, pay Black speakers at every. I mean, come on, man. This is what I'm saying. That's the scam, right? It's always the people that are doing stuff for the Black community that don't get any credit for it.
Hold on. So we're listening. We're listening to it. You said, I was listening to Joe Rogan, and it was interesting to me that you said Jay-Z was a god, and you know, like you loved him, and then all of a sudden you go left on him. What was the problem?
Because you know what my problem with Jay-Z is?
Let me tell you how I see it. I see Jay does a lot of good things for the Black community. I see he fights for prison reform. I'm just going, whether you disagree with it or agree with it, I'm just going to tell you what I think. I see him fight for prison reform. I see him send his lawyers, his resources to many people who need it. For example, Ahmaud Arbery's lawyer, he made sure he got there. He paid for certain people's legal funds and whatever you want to say. I didn't understand why you said you just weren't with him no more. And I'd like you to walk me through that.
Because he does is for PR. Let me tell you my problem with Jay-Z is. My problem with Jay-Z is that he's smart. Jay-Z's not T.I. Okay? Jay-Z's very smart. I listened to his music backwards and forward. Jay-Z was talking about the industry in ways, you know, how he even knew when he was being scared. You're not going to use my face. I'm not going to make money off of it. Jay-Z is a businessman. Okay? He's not making stupid music. He was always, you know, up here, right? And that's why I love his music, because he wasn't rapping. I mean, yeah, he had a couple of hits, you know, but his stuff was intellectual.
He ain't have a couple of hits. He done had some hits
now. No, I'm saying like he had a couple of like just for the club type, you know, whatever. But the majority of his music is actually very intellectual. He's talking about his experience coming. That I actually. A lot of what he said is what I employ in my life now. You're not going to use me, my name, my likeness. I'll walk away from the table. Just a lot of stuff, you know, that I like about Jay-Z. My problem with Jay-Z is he now invests in telling Black Americans to live their lives in a manner that he didn't live his, right? Jay-Z got to the place that he was in life through conservative principles, right? Jay-Z wasn't out wilding out, burning down statues and no, he wasn't doing any of that. Right? Jay-Z came to the table as a businessman, right? He knows that you are not setting Black America on the right track when you do this stuff, right? My thing about Jay-Z and why I said I called him a sellout is because I know he has the intellect. Like, again, different category than T.I. I know he has the intellect, right? I know he knows how to get to the top because he's done it. He's done it. He became a billionaire. The billionaire circle, the billionaire cul-de-sac, they all know how it works. I've been in those rooms, okay? So when they give money to stuff like money to whatever, so you just look like whatever. I think that Jay-Z has actually given up on the Black community, right? And so he does, you know, the bare minimum.
Hold on. That's a hell of an accusation to say that he gave up on the Black community.
I'm going to say
His money was made, his life was lived, and everything that you know him for is the Black community.
Yeah, and that's why, because he cannot not give money to these cases, right? He cannot not give money to these cases, or he cannot take a different stance, because the Black community will knock him. You know, oh, they'll say, oh, you became rich, and this is what happened, blah, 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 blah. So there's a tremendous amount of cowardice there. He knows it's not right. He knows what he's out there saying, perpetuating is false and wrong. He's too smart. Jay-Z is too smart. The only person that got to the top, and it's hard. Listen, you make it in Black America, making Black music, and you know all of 99.9% of Black America feels this way about this case, you would have to be crazy to take an angle that they disagree with, when knowing that it literally affects your bottom line, your legacy, everything you worked for, right? That's why, in that same vein, that's why I deeply respect Kanye, because Kanye has fallen on the goddamn sword for Black America. And he is the one that takes the most shit, because he's trying to tell you the truth. Kanye knows how he became a billionaire, right? Kanye's not here telling you guys to go burn down your own neighborhoods, repping a Black Lives Matter team, pretending that he hates white people. Yeah, he's saying to you, this is how you have to see the world, right? And if you want to make it like I did, here's how I did it. It's in his music. You know, he's telling you how he did it in his music. And to me, he's like the most courageous Black artist. This man has literally, I'm talking about a martyr, he has martyred himself about 80 times, right? And reinvented himself. Now he's making Jesus music. Even that, right? That little shift. It's like he knows the culture is toxic, right? His whole album about Jesus Christ. Like, Ye is doing the most. And to me, Jay-Z is a bit of a coward. So that's my opinion. I know he's your friend.
Again, saying, because we have so much to cover. We're gonna have to do a part 2 of this. I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions, and then we're gonna get out of here, because we could be here forever. This could be a 6-hour live. It's a hell of an accusation to call Jay-Z a coward, because Jay-Z's at the top of Black culture. But for you to say that, obviously you believe that that's where you are. Kanye, you respected Kanye. Obviously, you have a hell of a lot of respect for him. He distanced himself from you. Is that true or not true?
Yeah, I mean, there was the whole incident about the Blexit logo. And, you know, I was very angry with Kanye when all that stuff happened. But, you know, I had to take a step back and step out of my pride and kind of realize the larger contribution and the risk that he was taking for Black America. And it just didn't seem like, you know, like I got effed over in that situation. Like, the whole world was calling me a liar, and I wasn't a liar, right? Like, that was so. And Kanye basically did to me what Taylor Swift did to him. We know when she had heard the album and then said, I had nothing to do with this, blah 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 blah. Like, I'd never heard of it, and then like Kim dropped the shit on Snapchat, and then all of a sudden you realize that Taylor Swift was lying the whole time. Ye did that to me with the Blexit logo, and you know, but you know, we had just gotten back from a trip from Uganda together, but he was under a lot of pressure, and a lot of stuff was going on because he had sort of jumped into politics and was saying stuff that nobody has ever said. People were coming at him from all sides. It was affecting his family. You know, it's just like he's in a different spot. He's got kids, he's got a family. And so I had a situation where Kanye did help me design the logo, and I said that on stage. The media then said that he designed the shirt. I never said that. Once again, you can't find a clip of Candace saying that Kanye designed the shirts, right? I never said those sentences, right? So everybody started going crazy saying he designed the shirt. I said Kanye didn't design the shirt, and everyone started saying I was a liar, right? And I'm like, but I never said that. The media said that, and I corrected the record. Kanye was rightfully upset with me. Like, I actually have never spoken about this, but it's been long enough now that, like, you know, the heat's off him and, you know, the heat's off me, so I don't really care. I'm still here. He's still there. But, you know, Kanye was upset because someone on my team, this is before I started my company, so I was working for somebody else. It's the last time I ever worked for anybody because I was being used. People were using me to get to Kanye. Actually put on the website that these shirts were designed by Kanye, but I don't build websites. I didn't put that on the website. And they didn't believe me, didn't believe that I didn't give that instruction. So what I ended up doing was actually leaving the company and starting my own company and doing something separate. And just apologizing that people thought that Kanye West designed the shirts when he never did design the shirts. But I was talking specifically, I said on stage, the logo on the hat, the Jumpman, the X, you know, and, you know, that is what happened, you know? And so I was like so angry because the whole world was calling me a liar, and it brought me to another realm because people being from France. I mean, when Kanye West, when his name is involved in a situation, it's a whole different level of exposure. And the whole world was calling me a liar and calling me a fraud and saying that I made this up. And I was like literally almost on some Kim K shit where I was like, should I just drop this video and this picture and clear it up. You know, Kanye was in this fucking room and this happened. But, you know, I kind of prayed on it, and I was like, this man is under so much pressure. If I do this, like, for what? You know what I mean?
Have
For
you
what?
spoken to him? Have you spoken to him since? Have you
Yeah,
guys
I
been?
mean, I cried hysterically when this happened. I called him on the phone. I was like, you know, this is like, first off, from the bottom of my heart, I never said this, period. You can go watch the clip. You know, the person on my team that did this, like, I'm sorry. I would never put your name behind. He had nothing to do with that T-shirt. It was like this like little T-shirt that was made, but the media said that. Like, I never said that. You know, I was specifically talking about the letters. If you go to the Blexit website right now, it's still our Blexit letters. And so it was media making something up, Kanye having to respond to it, and you know, it was a horrible situation to live through because, you know, at that time, I really, to me, Kanye was like an idol. He actually gave me the spirit and the character to go out and do what I wanted to do. And then you have your idol contact you, right? And because they actually find what you're doing, and it was amazing because, especially his song Power. His song Power, whenever anybody gets on some like, you know, I'm just like, Candace, don't do it. I will put that song on. I'm like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I'm me. You know what I mean? Like, and but then it was kind of bittersweet because I realized that idolatry is a sin. No one no one should be, you should idolize no one. You know, everybody at the end of the day is a human being. And I still felt that Kanye wronged me, and it would have been cool for him to admit to everybody that, hey, it was a misunderstanding. Here's the part that, you know, I knew about. I had nothing to do with the T-shirts, but he didn't do that. He did the Taylor Swift. I never heard the song, you know. Oh, but then she's talking about it was the bitch word that he did exactly that. So it was actually, you know, interesting, but you know, it is what it is. And it actually made winning, meaning like my career has taken off even more since then, even greater, because I didn't have to step on his head to do it. And it, you know, Blexit became really about me. And every progress that I've had and every win that I've had has been about me. And because I didn't react with anger, which is again a lesson in for Black America, don't react and do something you would have sorely regretted. And I would have regretted if I had gone after Kanye hard, because I deeply respect him, because he did. He fell on the sword. He fell on the sword for Black America. He continues to fall on the sword for Black America. And you know, I will always feel love for Kanye West, despite that he kind of screwed me over a little bit on that.
Okay, all right. I have to say this. I'm looking at my clock, and we're at 2 hours and 5 minutes. There's no way that we're gonna get all of this stuff out. And I listen. I still have a section on Donald Trump. Like, there's questions I want to ask. I'm gonna leave it on this note, and maybe you'll come back and do a part 2. I learned so much about you. I learned so much about your stances. I thought you were just extremely hard, extremely callous, and extremely fuck that. I realize that you have a soul. I hope, I think a good, and I'm going to ask you this, and because I want to know it. Do you think that it would be a good idea to apologize to George Floyd's family for just the way that you said it and the way that you came across with it? Do you think that, because if you did that, you make people feel like you're not as callous as you are. And sitting here with you for 2 hours, I realize you're not as callous as what we see on the tweets and what we see here and what we see here. Do you think that it would be a good idea to just say, you know, I apologize. Maybe I was a little bit too extra with this. I believe in my point, but maybe I was a little with that.
I mean, I feel sorry for them if they lost their son, but you know, I said what I said talking about Black America and the way that we uplift criminals, and I don't think that they're surprised, you know, about his history. I think they know those things. So, I mean, when any person loses a relative, no matter what that relative was in the world, people feel pain. So, you know, I hope, you know, God bless his soul, but I will never apologize for telling the truth.
If you were in the room with his mother, what would you say? Just you and his mother one-on-one. What would you say to her about what happened, about your feelings, about whether you want to apologize?
I'm genuinely not emotionally invested in it. So I wouldn't probably say anything to her. I'm just not emotionally. I mean, I know everybody's so emotionally invested in this thing, but I'm not. You know, if you ask me what I would say about Tyshawn Lee's mother, you know, 5-year-old who was shot, a 7-year-old who was shot point blank in Chicago. I mean, that's where my heart is. Like we have so many true victims in Black America, and trying to get me to, you know, pump out some blood in my heart for other people, you know, that have, there are people that have done nothing and, you know, and have gotten killed and had horrible things happen to them. A case in point, I spoke out for Philando Castile. That was heart-wrenching. If you ask me what I would say to his mother, I would say, when I saw this video, I want you to know that I cried with you. You know, and I cried because there was so much that could have been done differently. And I spoke out for Philando Castile again. People like to ignore those things. And because that was horrible, he did everything right, you know, and went for the, you know, went for his wallet, and that was it. That broke my heart.
As a woman, what are your feelings on a Breonna Taylor, a Sandra Bland?
So Breonna Taylor, I'm sort of waiting for more details to come out, because I have some inside people that are saying, like, apparently she was a really good person, but her boyfriend was a really bad guy. Like, so I'm kind of waiting on that one. You know, it's sad that she obviously is dead, because, I mean, from every account that I'm hearing, this was just a good woman, you know what I mean? But I'm hearing that her boyfriend, the one that fired the shot, was mixed up in a bunch of stuff. So I'm sort of waiting on more details on that case.
Okay. What about a Sandra Bland? Because, and I'm only asking you this because you're a woman. You might react in a different way to an issue that involved a woman.
I didn't follow the Sandra Bland. Wait, can you remind me which one that was?
Okay.
Sorry.
No, don't forget it. Final question, and then maybe we can do this again, because there's so much that people. We haven't even got to the people's questions, like, and there's so much I have left. But I thank you for coming, because I think that we had to have this conversation, and people needed to know a little bit more about you, and it needed to happen here. And people got mad at me. They said, "Why would you give her airtime? Why would you do that?" The reason that I did it is because of a couple of things. Number one, why have it happen on CNN where where people pay to have commercials aired? Nobody's getting anything out of it, and this thing would have happened in 6 minutes, and they would have kept it moving. Number two is, you would have never got asked the questions that some of the people wanted to know, and some of these questions come from actual people that they wanted to know this. So I think it was very important for us to do it here. Final question: do you feel Colin Kaepernick had the right as an American to take a knee? Did you respect it or not?
You have a right as an American to do whatever you want, right? I mean, you can, yes, yeah, of course, you had a right as an American to take the knee, if that's the question. Should he have taken the knee? I will never, ever, ever take a knee for the American flag. I'm, you know, way too involved in understanding what our troops are in overseas. That flag represents the coffins that are being sent home. Black soldiers, white soldiers, Latino soldiers that are being sent back home under a coffin under that flag. To me, it is just, you picked the wrong thing. And, you know, to talk about something, again, that was a non-issue versus everything else, right? If you want to take a knee for the education system. That's not raising our, take a knee to the abortion clinics that are still executing their eugenicist plan, take a knee, 1,000 other things. But what you brought was, you know, was something that was educated. And by the way, Colin Kaepernick, I just find him his whole brand is extortion. I mean, just stop. The stuff he even puts up, Native Americans, I'm here celebrating, I'm here in Ghana with my history. You were raised by a white woman, you know what I mean? You're half white. And why? What is it about our group that we always have white people leading the charge? Sean, what's his name? Whatever his name is, white.
I want to say
Colin Kaepernick, raised by a white woman, white. Now he's picking out his hair because suddenly he realizes being black is lucrative. I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of all that stuff.
Hold on now. He was told by a veteran that the best way to respect the flag was to take a knee. I know that because I've had conversations with him. I had 2 conversations with him like these for 2 hours with no Instagram, just me and him in a room, and he broke it down to me completely.
Great, and then he was told by millions of veterans
out of respect. He did that out of respect for the troops. So
then he was told by millions of veterans they felt disrespected. Right?
Well,
so you can
he was told by a veteran that the best way to respect it.
Yes, I get that. And then he was told by millions of veterans that they felt insulted by it. Missing eyes, missing, you know, limbs blown up. They told me that disrespected by it, right? Could there be millions saying that they felt disrespected and you're not going to edit your move? Stop making that flag represents the freedoms that we afforded, even the freedom to get on your knee, which is a right. He has a right to do it. You asked me, does he have a right to do it? He does. Do I respect that right? Absolutely not. We don't
Okay.
understand what sacrifice is. We've never, we haven't fought, we haven't been alive to fight a war on American soil. So it means nothing to us that we're so overprivileged and so spoiled that we don't get that these people are going over, getting themselves blown up, so that we have the right to whine and pull down statues, right?
Okay.
It's like the bare minimum you can freaking do is stand up when they're singing the national anthem, right?
Okay.
I mean, it's such a minimum ask, and we can't even do it because we're just disrespectful all the time. We just can't.
Okay,
It's like,
see.
this is a bare minimum ask here. Hey, millions of soldiers saying they feel offended. Could you just stand? No, because 9 Black Americans are being shot and killed unarmed by police officers, and this issue, somehow this has to do with the flag. That should do with the flag.
So number one, it never was against the flag. He said that. It was never that. You saying it's a small ask for to stand for the flag is almost like everybody right now saying it's a small ask for you to go arrest 4 officers that committed a hell of an egregious act, but somehow it took a long ass time for that to happen.
Derek Chauvin was arrested within days.
Hmm?
Derek Chauvin was arrested within days. It was literally 4 days.
But listen, was it really 4 days? Because I don't remember it being 4 days.
It was in the same week, and that was basic procedure. They had to review the tape, and then they arrested him.
To me,
the other people up in the air, they were there, they were rookies on their 3rd day of work, and they see their boss doing that. Should they have intervened? Yeah, but it's going to take. They should have, but it's going to take a little more time to get a charge on them. They didn't exactly do it. So
all I'm trying to say is the same thing that you said about it's a minimal ask for you to stand for the flag. A lot of people right now thought that it would be a minimal ask for you to arrest police officers. A lot of times, and I'm just telling you because I see it, I've seen it over and over, when something happens like this, it's extremely egregious, it takes a long time for people to get arrested.
I don't think 4 days is a long
I just
time.
want to say, hold on, I want to say one thing, Candace, I'm sorry. I want to say one thing. Breonna Taylor's, the guy who killed Breonna Taylor just got fired. Just got fired.
Yeah, I know, but I'm telling you to wait on that case, because I obviously have contacts, and I'm hearing that there's a lot more involved in that case that made it tricky, and that's why first off, the AG on that was Black, and he was the one that stood up and said, I don't care how many celebrities write me, there's a lot involved in this case. He was Black, so he just said so, and I'm hearing the same thing, that there's a lot that's not coming out on that case.
Okay, I was giving you that to give parallels. I was just saying the same way it's a minimal ask for that, it's a minimal ask for this.
Yeah, but you can't just arrest somebody just because it makes the community happy. There has to actually be a crime. They have to investigate it. And there is apparently a lot of stuff that's missing about this Breonna Taylor case. I've heard it 1,000 times over from the beginning. Everyone's saying, wait, something going on with her boyfriend. So I still don't know, because they haven't released much, because they're not playing to the press right now. But don't assume that justice will be done.
That will be something that we will wait and see. I heard something like that too. I don't want to say anything. I'm praying. I'm praying to God that guy was not a bad guy. I'm praying to God that the worst that we could hear is that he was a bad guy, or whatever the case may be. With that being said, I have about 2% on my battery. I am going to get out of here. We will talk later. As much as I want to go live with y'all, if you guys give me a chance to charge my phone, I will go live. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before you leave?
I think I would say to everybody watching that every time somebody tells you I said something and it sounds wild and dumb, I probably didn't say it. And the best way to educate yourself is to actually go pursue a clip in its entirety, whether it's me, whether it's Trump, whether it's anyone that you've been conditioned to hate. And to also ask yourself why the media is so obsessed with smearing me and libeling me and making you think all of these things about me. There's a reason that every single Black conservative ever has been smeared and libeled, right? There's never even one Black conservative that the media has not worked overtime to smear. And that should tell you that it's, you can't say it's just me. It was Condoleezza Rice, it was Dr. Ben Carson, it was Larry Elder. It's every single Black conservative, which should let you know if the media is trying to hide something from you. And the truth is that what they're trying to hide is that they have us back on a plantation. They're telling us a lot of lies, and they're systematically ruining our communities with really bad policies and keeping us emotional and reactive. Because, like I said, the toddler syndrome, the more ignorant you are, the more emotional, reactive you are, and the easier you are to control. So you can disagree with me. I'm not expecting you to agree with me 100% of the time. If you agree with me 100% of the time, you would be me. And you're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to change your mind. I might change my mind with a little more time, but the stuff that they're saying about all black conservatives cannot all be true. So, and thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. We're going to talk later. I'll have a conversation with you later. Take it easy and go to sleep because it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
That was Candace Owens right there. I agree with some of it. I don't agree with other parts of it. Every night at 6 p.m., I go live here on Instagram. I have interviews with everybody. Tomorrow's Stretch from Naughty by Nature. Next week is LL Cool J, Dr. Oz. Chuck D is going to be on. So we talk to everybody. So if you have not followed me yet, please follow me. And when I post something up, you will see who I have on that day. As much as I want to go to you and go live, I have 4%, and it is extremely important for me to save this live. With that being said, I will see you tomorrow. You guys be safe.
Kick and a tick. Everything between really don't mean shit. I just need a kick and a tick. Tell me who you know that put it down like this. Nigga, give me the kick and a tick. Everything else don't mean shit. I just need a kick and a tick. Tell me who you know that put it down like this. Okay, I feel it jump with energy in your body. Call that how that bass rock. So you tell everybody don't worry about it. He got it, now just let me loose and I'ma get him. Let me go, I'ma get him. They say get him, I'ma get him. Feel that pump, adrenaline in your veins. I ain't playing with a man. I'm just saying, let me loose and I'ma get him. Let me go and I'ma get him. Let me loose, I'ma get him. They say get him, I'ma get him. Watch me get him.